could be a very special week for Brian Cody as he celebrates his 58th birthday next Thursday, and his team today lines out in Croke Park seeking their 69th Leinster title. If they win, it would be Kilkenny's 8th year in a row, bringing the largest trophy in the GA world, the Bob O'Keefe Cup, back to the Marble City. It's an awesome record, but then this is no ordinary team. One game played in the championship and no goals conceded by Dunnamagan's David Herity. Quite simply, he's a class act. JJ Delaney is out injured, so who did the Cats bring in at fullback? But 3 times an all-star, Noel Hickey. He's well covered in the corners by Paul Murphy and Jackie Tyrrell. The half-back line is very strong with Tommy Walsh, Brian Hogan and Richie Doyle forming a wall of black and amber that Galway will find difficult to break down. With last year's Hurler of the Year Michael Fennelly injured and Michael Rice recovering and named in the subs, it's a great opportunity for Killian Buckley and Paddy Hogan to impress. What about this for a half-forward line? Henry Shefflin, TJ Reid and Captain Owen Larkin. It's an intimidating line of attack. But if you're from Galway, there's even more to be worried about. For here's Colin Fennelly, Richie Power and Richie Hogan hovering near goal. Donald.
Yeah, Marty, you said there about David Herity in goal, and he doesn't get that many saves to make at times because he has a fantastic defence in front, and much talk is made of the Kilkenny's forwards, but defensively they're very, very consistent, and I think Brian Hogan has a lot to do with that. He's the linchpin, vital member, as he holds the centre very, very well, never gets drawn out, and I think he's a most underrated player.
It's all about making history for Galway. They may have won 96 Connacht titles back in the day, but they've never won a Leinster title. Their manager Anthony Cunningham is in charge of Galway for the very first time this season, and while he has delivered at underage level, this is undoubtedly his biggest test so far. This is the Galway team. The tribesmen have conceded 7 goals in 2 matches, but James Skehill was only present for the semi-final victory over Offaly. Both he and his defence will have to be on their game big time today. The return of David Collins may tighten up the leaking ship a little, as he's the only change from the semi-final. He joins Kevin Hines and Fergal Moore in the full back line. Consequently, Niall Donoghue moves to the half back line, where Tony O'Gregan and Johnny Cohen complete the line. Erla Tanyan and Andy Smith are selected in midfield, but they must take the opportunity to deliver a powerful performance. If they do, Galway have the forwards. Leading the attack, an outstanding under-21 player. Flanking him on the wings will be David Burke, and the man in form, Cyril Donlan. But the real scoring threat will be found here in the full forward line. Much will depend on Joe Canning, but Conor Cooney and Damien Hayes have proven that they have the knack of scoring goals.
Well, Marty, Damien Hayes is the most experienced forward. He's lines out today according to the programme, number 15. Number 13 is his normal berth, and he played a very effective deep role against Dublin and Offaly this year, coming from deep, and Galway will need a very effective performance from Damien today, and I think if he can get on the ball, he's good to pass it, he's good to score, and Galway will need that type of play from him.
It's a cloudy afternoon here in Croke Park, but at 4 o'clock we're looking forward to 70 minutes of really good hurling. It's Galway against Kilkenny in the Leinster final. Referee James McGrath in charge. Michael.
It's a cloudy afternoon, Marty. It's a little bit misty as well, but sure, what can you expect this particular summer in Ireland, I suppose. Gerard, let me discuss one thing here. We've heard down through the years about all the talk about these brilliant young players coming through in Galway and that they're underachieving and so forth. Yet if you look at this Galway team, you have fellas there like for quite a while, Damien Hayes, Tony O'Green, you manage these guys. Erla Tanyan, for example, who's given this midfield role now in this Galway team.
Yeah, you're dead right, Michael. It's a bit of a myth that this is a very young, inexperienced Galway team, but 11 of this Galway team have been around for 3, 4, 5, 6, and even more seasons than that. Now, one of those is Erla Tanyan. Erla is one of the most likeable fellas you'll ever meet, totally laid back. His big problem always was that he was never fit enough, not alone to play in the forwards, but to play midfield. Now this year he has made a massive effort altogether.
He has been troubled obviously with injuries.
He had injuries as well, but he's got really fit this time. Now he has a brilliant hurling brain, no doubt. He has fantastic vision, and the big question is, has he the work rate to last at midfield, and he can only answer that on days like today against Kilkenny. If he does, not alone will it be a massive boost to Galway, but it could be a match changer if he can play for 70 minutes at full pace and use all the attributes he has. It'll be a huge boost to Galway.
And the worry for every other county, of course, Liam, is despite all the experience that's in the Kilkenny team, they are finding the young players, they are bringing in the young players, fellas like Richie Doyle and so on.
Yeah, I mean, last year they brought in 3 and you think, God, where are they going to go next? But again, Richie Doyle has come in this year, and I mean, Noel Hickey has lost out at full back and JJ Delaney's moved back in. Now Richie Doyle, I think, he's minor in 2009. He's a really, really strong player, strikes But the amount of ball that he got onto at half back the last day against Dublin, for a young guy that's coming in, normally you're expecting a guy to come in. It might take 2 or 3 years to find your feet. With these guys, they're just in, and straight away they just seem to be up to the pace of Championship hurling. So he's been, and he knows as well today. If he doesn't play well today, you're looking at JJ Delaney sitting there outside. He said, "God, he's coming back in again."
They call him the next JJ Delaney.
JJ Delaney not playing today. Noel Hickey comes in at full back with 7 All-Ireland medals. That kind of sums it up, doesn't it? Tomas, who's going to win? Kilkenny, I presume?
Well, I mean, you have to go with Kilkenny, certainly. I mean, they don't seem to let up when it comes to Leinster Championship campaigns. I mean, Brian Cody said it in his interview, you could play for the last 5 years. We're in a Leinster final, we're 2 steps away from an All-Ireland final, and that's the way they're going to go, and I think Kilkenny will win this. Yeah.
If Galway were to win it, Ger, where?
Well, if Galway to win it, you'd have to say that there might be question marks about Noel Hickey at full back. Tommy not going as well at wing back as he has been before. Is Richie Dial as good as it seems? What about the 2 new midfielders, Paddy Hogan and Killian Buckley for Kilkenny? Are they as good as they showed against Galway? So Galway will have to get on top in those positions if they are going to win it, but they'll have to keep up a frantic pace for 70 minutes. If they do, they have a chance.
Liam, you did figure out a way to beat Kilkenny, obviously, with Tipperary.
Yeah, but I think the big thing we done on that day was we scored 4 goals and they scored 1. Really, it does come down to you just cannot leak. I mean, even against Dublin the last day, it's not so much the goal, it's what it does. With the body language of the Dublin team, when Kilkenny got their first goal, it just, a goal is worth more than a goal in Championship hurling. So I think for me, Galway, score more goals than them and try and get one before they get one, and let's see what happens.
We haven't mentioned Joe Caddy.
I know,
correct, isn't it? After all the talk about him, Joe could be the man. There's no talk about him into this game.
The best way ever
the Joe come into the game. He's fitter than ever. Maybe he'll be the man that will do today.
Maybe he will. All set to go then for this year's Leinster hurling final. We're going to head back to the commentary box to hear from Marty Morrissey and Donal O'Grady.
Thank you very much, Michael. Welcome to Croke Park for this Leinster senior hurling final, and we're looking forward to, well, we hope will be an intriguing contest. This is their 3rd meeting in 2012. Galway lost by 9 points in the Walsh Cup final and were torpedoed by 25 in the league. So certainly the hottest of favourites must be that famous black and amber jersey. Here's a man who's been in charge since 1999, 58 next Thursday. July 12, 1954 is the date of birth. And since he's taken charge, they've played 57 championship games. And what about this for a record? They've won 50, drew only 1 and lost 6. When you put that together, it's 6 National League titles, 8 All-Irelands and 12 Leinster. It's a pretty impressive CV.
I think that's an understatement, Marty, really. The thing is they have been, a modern times, really. I mean, they're non-pareil as regards, hurling teams. They have it all. They have height, they have strength, and they have, top-class skill. And, I'm never tired of saying they have an almost unbeatable system, and the work rate of their half forwards and full forwards coming back into midfield and coming back into defence, that augments the defensive 6 that they have already. So they're very, very difficult to beat. So it will take a huge effort from Galway. A good start, I think, is needed by Galway first 20 minutes. If they can get ahead, of course, that's the thing. But the biggest thing is not to concede early goals and not to make the defensive slip-ups that will hand Kilkenny easy frees or easy goals.
Since they beat Kilkenny in the All-Ireland semi-final of 2005, Galway have failed to get past the quarter-final. This is a big test today. There is a mist falling from the sky down on top of these players, which is going to make conditions just a little bit difficult in the early stages until they find their feet as such. For James McGrath, it's a big day from Turin, County Westmeath. He's been in the national panel since 1998, but this is his very first senior Leinster title. Game is on. The Leinster final of 2012 with Galway winning the toss. There is no wind. There is a slight mist, as I said, but they're going to try and score down as much as possible down at that canal end. As Kilkenny get into their stride early. Killian Buckley trying to lay it off under a little bit of pressure from David Collins, returning from injury. Gathering it here is Paddy Hogan, dispossessed however by Conor Cooney. Scored 2 cracking goals in the semi-final, dropping in. David Herity is under a bit of pressure, and the referee's whistle is blown, and he's given a free out to David Herity. But slippery ball right under the crossbar, but the goalkeeper did really well.
Well, he did well, and David Burke came in on top of him there, Marty, and he held the ball out, but pushing on the keeper, and justifiable free out, but danger there for Kilkenny. And Galway have started opening impressively enough, good tackling, and they're attacking Kilkenny a little bit.
Batted down by Andy Smith. Tommy Walsh coming forward under pressure. Gathering it here is Niall Burke, under 21 star of last year. And what about that for a start? Wonderful strike, really good score for the tribesmen. They're up and running.
Yeah, a little uncharacteristic error there by Tommy Walsh. Lost the ball, won it from the puck out, lost it, and Niall Burke with a great score from out of field. And that, every chance they get, if they can knock it over the bar, that will give them a little bit of confidence, and they'll settle them down a little bit.
Puck out by David Herity. Kilkenny going forward. Ball comes free for Irla Tanya. Slither on the hurl. Takes it forward. The finish will be a disappointment. It's crucial from a Galway perspective when you're playing an awesome, intimidating team like Kilkenny, who've been so good and so impressive. Indeed, I'm sure everybody are fans of what Kilkenny have achieved over the last number of years, but when you're playing a really good team like this, you cannot concede goals too early.
No, Marty, and we sat here in the past, a ball like that from the Italian with a talent like Joe, with Joe Talent inside. Surely the thing is to feed him as early as you can into Joe Canning.
And it is down by Joe Canning! What a start! What a goal! Long ball from Irla Tanya down to Big Joe Canning from Portumna. Deep ball, great hands by Canning. Unstoppable. A brilliant start by the tribesmen. Look at it from every angle, any angle, and pick it out of the back of the Kilkenny net.
Yeah, and Joe, Marty, it is interesting to see that Jackie Turtle has moved into full back, as he did, we say, on Lark Corbett and last year's final, and Noel Hickey's in the left corner. So that will be a plus for Joe Canning if they can feed him enough ball right. Jackie Turtle is more at home in the corner, so that will give Galway a fierce boost.
Andy Smith trying to get away from O'Larkin, half blocked. Ball into space. 2 years ago when these teams met in the Leinster final, a lot of criticism on Joe Canning. He only scored 2 points, one from a free in that final, and of course very much the scoring potential built around this new team that Anthony Cunningham is composing is around this man, Joe Canning, scoring a cracking goal at the very start of the game within the first 2.5 minutes of this Leinster final. It's the start that Galway could only wish for. Canning laying it off. Far as Niall Burke on the turn, and it's all Galway in Croke Park. It's his second point of the match.
Yeah, great score there by Niall Burke. But what was interesting about that, Marty, is Galway are moving the ball short. They're committing then the Kilkenny players to come in on 1-on-1s, and they're moving the ball, and that's an excellent point again for Niall Burke, his second of the game. David Collins has also moved out to right half back, and Fergal Moore's across in the right corner, so a couple of switches, we'll get to them later on.
Galway have done to Kilkenny what Kilkenny like to do to their opponents, and at the moment Galway are rocking and rolling here in Croke Park, and it's Joe Canning moving out from the full forward line, stepping by Brian Hogan, giving it inside to Burke. That central axis of Burke and Canning posing problems in the early stages for Kilkenny, and the Cats, their cage may be rattled, but I'm sure they'll settle very quickly. Sideline ball favours Galway. Brian Gavin, the linesman, indicating it's a quick ball that's going to be taken by Irla Tanya, but he's been told to calm it down, take his time. Art Drahanman won 2 Fitzgibbons in his younger days with LIT, as that ball is dropped in. Ball is dropped. Slippery ball with that mist just falling around 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in Dublin. Ball breaks free. Over for is Damien Hayes. just misjudged the shot, and it is Galway's second wide of the game.
Well, you can see, good tackling from Galway, and James McGrath is the type of referee that lets this go, and Galway tackle well. Ball out to Damien Hayes. I think he should have nearly tried to take on the man there, like on a 1-on-1, but unfortunately struck a wide. Here we'll see the good tackling, ball lost there, and once it came to Damien Hayes, possibly he should have taken on the man.
Puck out from David Herity, comes down again from Iarla Tanyan, who's getting on an mounted ball in the middle of the field. Many people in Galway feel he's better around that central field area because it gives them a lot of space. Ball blocked down. Conor Cooney scored 2 cracking goals in the semi-final against Offaly. Back there is Tommy Walsh. Second time he's hooked. Walsh hits, pushed by the corner forward from Galway. Cooney fouls, free for Walsh.
Yeah, a little shake of his head there, but he gave it a little slight little tug, and Tommy made the best of it there, Marty. I think he knew when to go down. Ball was lost, and gets a relieving free from the corner. But you'd have to be impressed by Galway's work rate from at the very beginning, and if they can keep this up, will certainly challenge Kilkenny's dominance.
The dressing room beforehand, Galway were very calm, very focused. The word that was being used around the dressing room was intensity and passion. And certainly they have brought it to the table. They've brought it to the pitch after 6.5 minutes, leading by 5 points. Johnny Cole, Loughrea, corner back in the 2009 minor All-Ireland winning team. Tommy Walsh floats it in. David Collins battling with Owen Lock, and coming forward is Tony O'Gregan. Misses it the first time through to the hook. On the floor is Colin Fennelly. Referee's whistle is blown. He's going to give a throw ball. Fennelly slowly getting to his feet. But you have to say, Donald, from a Galway perspective, they've started well, haven't they?
Well, they've started very well, Marty, and they have a good pace to their tackling and to their forward play. And they made a few switches, as I said. Johnny Cohen's gone back in the corner, Fergal Moore's in the right corner, and David Collins is out in the wing.
There's a bit of afters going on here, and some of the Kilkenny players didn't like that Iarla Tanyan seemed to get entangled with Conal Fennelly as he was hitting the ball. We might be able to see it again in a moment, but certainly the Kilkenny players reacted as Fennelly was still getting some attention, some medication.
Yeah, well, there was a little bit of argy-bargy before the throw-in as well, not much because James McGrath threw the ball in, but you're going to expect that, Marty. Galway are well up for this game, and I suppose their attitude is we're not going to let anything go, and we're going to, front up and face up to Kilkenny and see how good they are.
Tanyan again gets a touch, fires Tony O'Gregan, sprays it over towards Joe Cannon. Jackie Tyrrell just got a slight little touch to it just to put him off a little bit, and Tyrrell drives it down in front of the Hogan stand. Galway first to the ball. This occasion, Fergal Moore just loses possession, picked up by Richie Hogan, trying to get away. Look at where Joe Canning is, dispossessing Richie Hogan, and Galway counter-attack down towards Conor Cooney. Nice stick work. Showed a little bit too much to the 3-times All-Star Noel Hickey from Dunnamaga. Long ball down towards Andy Smith. Comes away with it, however, is Johnny Cohen. Gives it plenty of air. Underneath it again is Cooney. Hickey just beaten to it on this occasion. Nice pick-up indeed by Richie Doyle. Chased by Niall Burke. Doyle hand passes it, well gathered on this occasion by Killian Buckley to Fennelly. In comes Tanyan with a hefty challenge. And again. And they have continued their little argy-bargy, to use Donald O'Grady's word that started a while ago. The referee's whistle was blown. It's a free for Kilkenny.
Yeah, and the free there was nothing wrong with the tackle, but you saw the little tug on the shirt there, and the referees are getting very sharp on that. Any little tug on the shirt or the shorts, and they'll give a free immediately. But that's the one thing that Galway can't afford to do. I mean, they're 5 points up, but they've handed a silly free now to Henry Shefflin, and he could well open his account.
Almost 10 minutes gone in this first half. First scoring opportunity for Kilkenny wasted by Shefflin, and look at the way the Galway players are reacting. Talk about intensity, talk about self-belief, and indeed passion. Galway have it all in abundance so far. It's early days. Good hands by Tony O'Gregan.
Yeah, but the important thing there, Marty, was that he took the steps out, and that gives him good balance and gives him a bit of force going forward, and picked up a handy free.
It's not often we see on our television screens 10 minutes gone. Kilkenny, no score. Galway 1-2. Damien thought about going left, went right instead, along the sideline. Gathering here is Cyril Donlan. Nicely hooked. Back there is the Kilkenny captain O'Larkin. Goes forward first, TJ Reid. Scored a cracking goal against Dublin. Ball rebounds first, David Burke. The hand passes a poor one. Hickey gets to it first. It comes first, Hayes. Right in front of the Hogan is dropping in, and it's an easy ball for David Herity. Goalkeeper. He may have been well defended and protected over the last number of seasons, David Herity, and indeed PJ Ryan before him. But you sense that Galway are going to test this Kilkenny defence today. David Collins might be playing at right half back, but he goes back into a corner back position. Nice stick work by Tony O'Gregan. Sends it down the sideline. Oops. Damien Hayes, we knew what he was trying to do, the quick ball, but it seemed to just swirl onto the hurley and out over the sideline.
Yeah, well, it's a little bit greasy down there, Marty, and that's a very difficult skill to when the ball is flying at pace as it was, to knock it back straight away. He might have been better off just to try and get his own possession and then run. But Galway, Damien Hayes is playing roving out, Joe Canning is roving out of time, so they're really asking questions of the Kilkenny defence.
Poor sideline ball from Paddy Hogan. Sent down by Irla Tanya. In the centre, it's Brian Hogan. Powerful centre half back. Andy Smith running forward and pulled down is Niall Donoghue. Donoghue is playing at right half back. At least he should be, but he's gone into the corner. Here's a young man that is a natural fullback, and in time probably will wear the number 3 jersey for his county. That's where he won an under-21 All-Ireland medal. Ball is sent in towards Joe Canning. Lovely little touch, lovely little flick up and taken out of it by Jackie Tyrrell, and that is a free in for Galway. This is going to be a different day, one senses, for Joe Canning. Look at the stick work here, tried to flick it up high. Tyrrell came in with the frontal challenge.
Yeah, Marty, and he's moving across each position in the full forward line, and he was being picked up that time by Paul Murphy. I think Kilkenny will have to decide that they're going to man mark him possibly, but if it's a case that Jackie Tyrrell is on him or Paul Murphy is on him, then I think Joe will be better off standing at the edge of the square because they don't have the experience of playing full back position.
Gives you an idea of the angle and indeed the concentration. Sizing up his prospects. Joe Canning. 20-metre line. The bar. 13 minutes gone. In the first half, it's Galway 1-3. Leinster and All-Ireland champions Kilkenny yet to score. Somebody has rewritten the script. We weren't quite expecting this from Galway. Puck out from David Herity. Can they maintain it? Can Kilkenny respond? Knocked down by Fergal Moore. Damien Hayes laying it off. Whereas Andy Smith, the Portumna combination, running forward. Coming into challenges Hogan. Taken down. And it's interesting what Andy Smith decided to do, to tear into a different gear, up it and run at the Kilkenny defence. And this was Hogan's response.
Yeah, Marty, when you look at that again, I mean, James McGrath, the referee, has been very lenient, I think, with Brian Hogan. He's just merely spoken to him there, no tick. That normally turns up as a yellow card. I think he's giving him a little tick now, but just explaining that's on him. But normally that's a straight yellow card, and by running straight at defenders, it's very difficult for any defence to cope with that.
Canning once more. It's an easy one for a man with a range of skills that we've grown to admire over the last number of seasons since he made such an impact as a minor and under 21 star.
Yeah, Marty, there's been Kilkenny's had 6 puck outs. They won the first one and subsequently lost it, and they've lost each and every one of them since then, so it's giving Galway a platform in the half back line to build their attacks.
TJ Reid and Tony O'Gregan. Regan comes out with the ball, slither in hand, lays it off quickly. Nipping in, however, is Richie Hogan. Challenged by the opposite number 15 in their own half of the field goal. Right? That was Damien Hayes, and the referee felt that Damien Hayes was being fouled, and he's giving a free to Galway. Hogan protested. He says, "What, me?" And there's an extra 13 metres.
Moi, but I mean, he clearly pulled him, I think, by the, but watch it again here now, there's good tackle, and then I think that, there was a little bit of, definitely he swung him around. maybe 6 to 1.5 doesn't know, but that's definitely a foul. The referee will always give that. You see it there, Richie used to push him to the ground, and this gives a chance now to Joe. Whereas it wasn't a scoreable free, but when the referee brings it forwards, and it's supposed to be brought forward 30 metres, that could be 15 or 16 metres, so this is definitely a chance. The important thing is not to hit it wide, Marty.
He's just a few metres outside the Kilkenny 65-metre line. There you go. That's where he is. Now, it's dropping over the crossbar. It's a goal and 3 points for Joe Canning. Niall Burke with 2 points. And although it's early days, almost 16 minutes gone, but Joe Canning is becoming the central figure.
Yeah, that was a great free, Marty, pressure free, and that shows that Joe's on his game. The early goal, of course, will have built his confidence, an excellent free taker, excellent skills all round, and when he's playing well, that's a great fillip for Galway.
16 minutes, 12 seconds gone in the first half. The All-Ireland champions yet to score. Here is Cyril Donlan on the run. He hits it, and it's left and wide. Back in 2010, there was a crowd of 31,376. I think the crowd today is a lot smaller. But what entertainment. Those who have paid the tickets into this Leinster hurling final so far. Entertainment in terms of the skill of Galway. Kilkenny unable to cope so far. And the scoreline of almost 17 minutes gone, and Kilkenny nowhere near scoring bar Henry Shefflin's free. Sideline ball to Galway, just inside their 45-metre line. Johnny Cohen.
Yeah, just gone out of shot there was Damien Hayes. That's down, 40 metres from their own goal, and he's roaming and he's going back into the defence. So if Galway's fitness will hold out, they're certainly putting up a major challenge to Kilkenny.
Centre half back Niall Burke knocks it back for his Damien Hayes under a bit of pressure. Has to get it. Hogan is the central defender for Kilkenny. Comes out for his Johnny Cohen. Swings it over to the opposite side, over towards the Hogan stand. A race for possession. Going down, lovely stick work again, this time by Conor Cooney, St. Thomas's man, All-Ireland minor medalist 2 years ago. Gives it back to David Collins, the right corner back. He's been out all season, and he rarely scores, but he does it in Croke Park in a Leinster hurling final, which is becoming more than just interesting.
Well, Marty, you look up at the clock, almost 80 minutes score for Kilkenny on the board, and the only chance they had was a free from Henry Shefflin. But this is, the type of play that Galway are playing. Short ball, committing Kilkenny to one-on-ones, and they're winning that battle hands down.
Sent back by the captain of Galway, Fergal Moore. Kilkenny, however, survived this particular onslaught. It's Richie Hogan sending it down towards Finlay. The good, hard-working Johnny Cohen takes the shoulder straight on from Richie Power. Joe Canning backfires Johnny Cohen. Light on the feet, but strong in terms of the physical strength. The referee's whistle is blown. There was a tap down, and there's a free out for Kilkenny.
Well, I'd like to look at that again, Marty. I think he attempted to play the ball and just, came into contact with Brian Hogan's hurley. I don't think there was that much about it, but I'd like to see it again.
David Herity coming out to take this free. Kilkenny lads. You can know by the close-up of our cameras there that they're a little bit worried at the moment. This is not supposed to be happening.
They're not used to this, Marty.
They're not used to it. Ball comes down. Tapped down by Richie Power. Tony O'Gregan is protesting vehemently, and as a result of the protest, there's an extra 13 metres. He's explaining to the Galway defenders that there was a pull of the jersey, which he saw, and if that is correct, well then he's dead right to give the free. Let's have a look at it here.
Well, I didn't see a whole thing.
I
didn't see anything wrong. I didn't think there was a free in or a free out, Marty.
Henry Shefflin, 19 and a half minutes gone in this Leinster final, and that's the very first score for Kilkenny. There was lovely skill here from Richie Power, but the jersey pull was there. We can see it there.
Oh, yeah, we see it from that angle, yeah.
Yes.
Referee picked it up.
Ball comes out for Zir Latanya. Rebounds over for his Neil Dunham. Flick on as far as Andy Smith. Made his championship debut in 2008 against Laois. Sliding along the ground, almost gathering it is Sir Dunham. He has it now. Away he goes. Trying to look to see if anybody's inside. Difficult enough angle. Hovering over here is David Burke. Ball breaks free from Tommy Walsh. Doesn't concede the 65. Look where Richie Hogan is. Playing almost a right corner back. Try and get possession for the Cats. Henry Shefflin, Richie Parr. Ball breaks free for Azir Latanya. Lovely little flick up. And he is beginning to blossom. Hits the shoulder of Owen Larkin. Joe Canning almost sandwiched by two Kilkenny Cats. And it comes back for Azir Latanya. Lays it off for Donlan. Donlan from Gurteen, Ballymacward in East Galway is fouled. And that is a free in for Galway. Tremendous heart, passion from the tribesmen as Kilkenny step up the challenge.
That's the second free by Brian Hogan now, and that shows that Kilkenny under pressure very seldom do they give away a free in those areas. But the whole key to Galway's offensive plan is that they're using the short ball and they're committing the Kilkenny defence to one-on-ones. And normally Kilkenny like to play as a unit and to suck up the forwards into a channel, and then they snuff out the chances. But Galway are creating one-on-ones here. Massive possession, as you see.
Look at that statistic, Donald. 61% possession for Galway.
Well, Kilkenny one score in 19.5 minutes, Marty.
Joe Canning raises another white flag. That's a goal and 4 points as Brian Cody reflects what's happening on the field with a change in his team. Aidan Fogarty, who we've seen so many times score crucial goals, is the man that's selected to join the Kilkenny attack. Further out the field, it seems to be that Galway are dominant. Colin Fennelly, with that injury, seems to be the source of their difficulty. Coming away with it is Damien Hayes. Lays it off. Farrell's Donlan. Donlan steadies. Donlan shoots. And Cyril Donlan scores. His first in this Leinster hurling final. Scored 1-1 against Westmeath, 3 against Offaly, and 1 against Kilkenny. And coming on is number 22, Aidan Fogarty, from the Emeralds Club in Kilkenny. And going off is Colin Fennelly, who seemed to pick up an injury in the early stages.
Yeah, shipped a heavy tackle, but Kilkenny haven't got the grips at all with the roving Damien Hayes, and he's creating fierce problems for Kilkenny, getting onto a loaded ball and then using it very, very well. And that's the difference. Galway using the ball.
Ball inside. Farrell's David Burke knocking it down. He can score. Magnificent goal. Wow. What a shocker in Croke Park when you least expect it. Everybody thought Kilkenny were unbeatable. It's early. It's 23 minutes in the first half. But look at the scoreline. And look at this for a cracking goal. David Burke, take it out, Galway.
Fantastic strike, Marty, but that's the whole thing. The ball is being used, they're coming off the defenders very, very well, and they're getting the ball then. There's no aimless balls being struck in, and when you look at the scoreline, 2-8 to a point. If you walked in, you think that the scoreboard was wrong, that Kilkenny should be up, and Galway really giving Kilkenny a lesson today.
Henry Shefflin coming in to get first clean ball. Right beside him is Andy Smith, Damien Hayes, Cyril Donlan. Lovely little flick up, and look at the hard shoulder on Paul Murphy. 4 Galway players around one Kilkenny man. Can Kilkenny get to terms with this challenge? Owen Larkin back quickly for his Killian Buckley. Gives the ball in fast and furious. But it's a Galway man that's there. Johnny Cole. He certainly has a great engine because he's been everywhere so far. The ball is deflected. It is one and only Tanya. Flicks it forward. He's run out of ground, and that's a sideline ball for Kilkenny. It's breathless stuff in Croke Park.
Well, Marty, Galway are completely dominating around in the middle of the field, and it's Michael Fennelly, of course, and Michael Rice. Their two top midfielders are out injured, and Kilkenny are really shell-shocked at the moment. 25 minutes gone almost, and just 1 point on the board, and that's from a free.
Sideline ball taken by Richie Doyle. Slither in the middle of that scramble. Richie Power is there with the green and gold helmet. But coming away with it is Collins. Loses possession, however. And it's a free for Kilkenny as Richie Hogan gathered the ball. Referee James McGrath is going to have a word, just a ticking, in fact, with David Collins.
Yeah, I thought Collins was a little unlucky there. Richie Hogan seemed to tackle him high, just giving a little push for lost the ball somewhere. He had it in his possession, lost the ball somewhere.
Well, they just saw themselves on the screen and it went from a glum face to a very happy face. Must be the only Kilkenny man that's happy at the moment, I'd say, as Henry Shefflin takes the fray. and that is going left and wide. It is not often that Henry Shefflin disappoints his manager.
Well, it just shows, Marty, when you're under pressure, and Shefflin has gone now in full forward, and whatever Kilkenny are trying to do, they're taking off. I think Paddy Hogan at this stage, I just mentioned that they're under pressure midfield, and I think they're going to introduce Michael Rice.
Ball goes down far as the aforementioned Paddy Hogan. Goes long. Good hands again by Johnny Cohen. He's like a vacuum cleaner back there. He's sweeping up everything. Gives it to Tony O'Regan, son of Horse. The Horse Reagan will be proud of the son this afternoon if they maintain this. Tommy Walsh gathers, has to send it low. Good call by Walsh. Kilkenny used the fast ball in, and again it's Johnny Cohen. Almost miscued it, but going back there is his captain, Fergal Moore. Turlock Moorman goes long as Galway continue to try and put the pressure on this Kilkenny defence. The linesman, Brian Gavin from Offaly, gives it to Galway. Correct decision. Sideline ball going to be taken by David Burke as Kilkenny now make the change. Coming on is Michael Rice. Going off is Paddy Hogan. So a change in the middle of the field. Rice, a vital component. That midfield combination for Kilkenny of Michael Fennelly and Michael Rice has worked so powerfully in the past. Sometimes Rice is named at centre forward, but usually around that triangle. Joe Canning gives it back for his David Burke, and he hits it sweetly, beautifully inside the post. It's a goal and a point for David Burke, captain of the minor team, beaten by Kilkenny in the All-Ireland final of 2008. But this will gain some bit of revenge. Wonderful score.
Great score there from David Burke, but audacious little sideline to him. But you think Kilkenny will be looking for that?
TJ Reid leaves it off first. Killian Buckley takes on the challenge, trying to break down this Galway defence. Comes back outside first. Hogan, hard-working Richie back there as well. It's Richie Hogan, and it's Galway to come away with it. The ball bobbling all over the place. It's David Collins gives it long. 1-on-1 between Hogan and Niall Burke. Nipping in, however, laying it off first. The number 22 is Aidan Fogarty, operating around the half-forward line. Fogarty goes for a score, and the umpire says it's wide. Well, the wide gives us a chance to breathe a little. Defending here by Galway.
Yeah, well, there was a chance for Richie Hogan to knock it over the bar, I think, at one stage, and I think they had it in their mind to look for goals, but points will do them still. They'll need to get 3 or 4 or 5 points maybe back on the board, and because if they're going to try and go for goals to the massed Galway defence, well, they'll be setting things up for the defence.
Comes back, fires Brian Hogan, goes long. It's 2 against 1 up here. Back there is Johnny Cohen. Henry Shefflin's moved in full forward, a tactic we've seen so many times in the past. Coming away with it is Fergal Moore, twice an All-Ireland minor winner in 1999 and 2000. Are these players finally beginning to blossom to senior level? Ball breaks kindly for Cyril Donlan. He's already scored once in this first half, trying to make an angle for himself. He's going for it again. Is it good enough? It is beautiful. It is Cyril Donlan with his second point. And look at the scoreboard on your television screens. 28 minutes, almost 29. Galway 2-10, Kilkenny 1 point. The point from a free by Henry Shefflin after 19 and a half minutes. Richie Power from the middle of the field drives it in. Gathering it is the goalkeeper, James Scahill. This is a Galway defence that conceded 7 goals, 27 points to Westmeath and Offaly. They have now kept the Leinster and All-Ireland champions virtually scoreless for almost a half an hour. What has happened?
They've got their matchups very, very good up in they're putting the Kilkenny defence, their half backline under severe pressure, and this is the half backline that normally launches attacks for Kilkenny, but they're finding it very, very difficult to get anything from Galway here.
Sideline cut from Tommy Walsh comes straight to Joe Canning. Nice ball inside to Cyril Donlan, who's now taken up residence at the edge of the square. Trying to keep him out is Noel Hickey. Difficult angle for Donlan. Not difficult at all is his response. It's his 3rd point of the first half. 3 against Offaly, 3 against Kilkenny.
Well, Kilkenny look badly rattled. Marty and Tommy Walsh there with the sideline that he took straight across the field to Joe Canning, and there was one target inside, that was Cyril Donlan, and he has the legs of Noel Hickey, and that's been very profitable for Galway so far. 3 points from Cyril Donlan, and they're going very, very well.
Galway have scored 2 goals and 11 points. 2 goals and 7 of that total is coming from play. It's Richie Hogan. Lovely balanced hurler. Had the vision to see Richie Power. The 45-metre line, and he raises Kilkenny's second white flag of the afternoon. It's their second point. The first after 19 and a half minutes. Their second after over half an hour. Almost 31 minutes.
Yeah, but Richie Power is playing out centre forward now. Henry Shefflin inside, full forward, and Richie Hogan on the left. And Aidan Fogarty's playing out around the middle of the field to try and counter Damien Hayes. So that leaves Kilkenny with only 5 forwards, and Johnny Cohn, as you remarked earlier, Marty, is really cleaning up the breaks.
Conor Cooney unable to control that slither skipping off the surface. That mist rain seems to have disappeared temporarily, at least. Still very cloudy overhead. Tommy Walsh going to take this sideline ball into the centre. Again, it's almost like a repeat of the last time. Joe Canning with a beautiful stroke of a ball sends it between the posts. It is fantastic. What a score by Joe Canning. It's the second time. It's almost as if we were looking at the video in replay.
Well, Marty, when there's a meltdown, there's a complete meltdown, and that was the second time you'd think that he'd knock it down the wing, because that's normally what you try and do for defensive sidelines, knock them down the wing, put them into the corners. But of course Kilkenny have nobody down in that right corner, so maybe Tommy was trying to put it across to the midfield and miscued twice, and set up 2 scores for Galway.
It's a free in for Kilkenny. Just on the D there, Henry Shefflin going to gather it. At this stage, judging by the body language, it looks like he's just going to take his point. That's exactly what he does. 32 minutes gone. 2 points from a free for Henry Shefflin. 1 point from play by Richie Power. Who could have predicted this?
Well, this is a crucial time now, Marty. 3 or 4 minutes before half time, so it is for Galway to keep their challenge going. Keep using the ball as they are and keep running at the Kilkenny defence, and really they've got their plans right. You'll have to, Anthony Cunningham has to come in for great praise, because they really have their matchups gone very, very well up in the forward line, and they're leaving Joe inside by himself, or they're leaving Cyril Donlan inside, one forward inside and 1-on-1s with Kilkenny, and it's really causing major problems for their defence. Oh, Tommy Walsh trying to it must have been the hurley try number 3.
The referee is going to give a throw ball here because he missed it. There was a fresh air there. Still comes to Kilkenny. Johnny Cohn sends it down the wing, and again it's a sideline ball. Andy Smith unable to control it.
But you'd have to question Kilkenny's tactics, Marty. 3 or 4 balls that they've got to hit straight into the right corner, where they have no corner forward. Johnny Cohn is over there operating as a free man, and they've hit 3 or 4 balls straight down to him. You think that they try and operate over to the left to Richie Hogan, or straight into Henry Shefflin?
Killian Buckley's sideline ball came to Richie Power, but he loses possession, gets up on his feet and takes it, but he fouls the Galway man. Referee James McGrath is pointing to Richie Power for that challenge, and it is a free for Galway. 33 minutes of action that, to be honest with you, we didn't really expect, because Galway, having lost so heavily to Kilkenny in the league, torpedoed by 25 points, 9 points in the Walsh Cup, but this was always the target, and Brian Cody must be a concerned man at this stage. It's not often we see this happening. 2-12 to 3 points, and Kilkenny beaten, particularly around midfield. Galway dominant in the half-back line, and Johnny Cohn very vigilant. Good work here by Kevin Hines. Not a natural full-back, but doing well, but losing out this time to Richie Power. Tony O'Gregan, high challenge on the full forward from Carrick Shock, and that is a free in for Kilkenny.
Well, Kevin Hines had it originally and should have done a little bit better, maybe tried to place it outside and lost it, and then a foul on Richie Power. So Kilkenny will have to get keep tapping the ball over the bar and try and hope then that they'll get a goal, but they've got no pressure whatsoever on Kevin Hines, who's a converted full-back at the best.
Henry Shefflin taps it over the bar for his third, and Kilkenny's fourth.
Yeah, and incredibly, Marty, as we come up to half-time, Kilkenny have 1 point from play. That's a point from Richie Power. So that's a stat that you don't normally see.
Puck out by James Scahill from Capitago. Saw him play under 21 hurling over the last number of years, and it was really outstanding, particularly in the All-Ireland semi-final against Clare 2 or 3 years ago. Prowess, Richie Doyle. It's 2 against 1, but the 1 is Henry Sheffield. Ball breaks free, and again it's Johnny Cohen. Outside him was Niall Donoghue, but he goes for distance. Slips off the fingertips of Cyril Donlan. Cyril acknowledges that the pass was good, but he had made a miss of it. 1 minute of additional time in this first half. And again, it's Johnny Cohen. Takes his eye off it this time. David Collins recovers. What a point he scored in this first half. The right corner back from half back. Michael Rice getting on the ball, laying it off versus captain Owen Larkin, trying to get inside the cover of Collins. It's Larkin, passing it inside, great ball. There's danger here for Galway, and a chance for Kilkenny, and the goalkeeper comes charging out. It's Scahill, he's a big man. 6'5", he stood on the ground, that's the man from Capitago. And again there is the clenched fist, and the save by James Scahill signals the half-time whistle being blown by the referee from Westmeath, James McGrath. Brian Cody will be happy to get his team into the dressing room at half-time, because a goal by Joe Canning after 2.5 minutes, another goal by David Burke after 22, gives Galway a substantial lead. It's a serious problem for the All-Ireland champions. Galway 2-12, Kilkenny 4 points. Analysis coming up shortly.
Centra, sponsors of the GAA Hurling Championship.
I've always dreamed of competing in the Olympics.
I think I just loved it so much that I kind of just put more and more into it.
All I did was just ride horses.
I was about 3 years old. My mum used to put me up in her hunter for hours on end every day.
It just asked me father if I go and join the boxing club, and I never turned back from there.
Just to be a part of that special group of people is an unreal feeling, especially representing your country.
The London 2012 Olympic Games on RT2. T2 HD. Coverage begins 27th of July.
I'm Anthony Agogo, and this is my personal best. Chicken teriyaki, salad, no jalapenos. It's good food at its fastest.
I'm Holly Bleasdale, and my personal best is better. Low-fat Subway Club, all the salad, and just as quick.
It's very close. The fat and calories are both excellent results, and both offer one of your 5 a day. With 9 subs with under 5 grams of fat, everyone's a winner.
But you can't even handle the jalapenos.
I've got a sensitive mouth, all right?
Subway. Train hard. Eat fresh.
We all brush our teeth in the mornings. But whenever we eat during the day, our plaque acid reaches harmful levels. Chewing Wrigley's extra sugar-free gum helps to neutralise plaque acid and keep your teeth clean.
Eat, drink, chew. Extra.
Yorkie. Man fuel for man stuff.
Keep the whole family entertained this summer with a free Sky Plus box when you join Sky TV. Watch sizzling shows whenever you want, as Sky Plus lets you record up to 185 hours and even pause and rewind live TV. Enjoy Sky's most popular entertainment channels and great kids channels, plus all your favourites from Ireland and the UK. That's great Sky TV for everyone. A free Sky Plus box, and you'll be ready for the digital switchover. Join Sky TV before the 2nd of August. Call us on 0818 71 6000. Sky. Believe in better.
On the Sunday Game Live this afternoon, it's the Leinster hurling final, and at half-time, Galway leading Kilkenny 2 goals and points to 4 points. Liam Sheedy, Gerlach Nan, Tomas McCahey here with me in studio. Liam, in the chat before the match, you said the days of thumping the tables and banging the walls were gone in hurling. I suspect there's a few tables being thumped in the Kilkenny dressing room at the moment.
Yeah, it's just unbelievable. I mean, you couldn't have foreseen this. I mean, Galway have just been started in the blaze of glory, and it's been non-stop. I mean, Kilkenny, it took them 20 minutes to get a score. It took them 30 minutes to get a point from play. It's just
1 point from play.
Yeah, some of the statistics we're seeing here are unheard of. But you know, I think really, in fairness to Galway, they have their homework done. You know, there's been 18 puck outs from the Kilkenny goalie David Herity, and not one of them has been caught cleanly by Kilkenny, and that's not a statistic you'd normally see in a Kilkenny team. They're just being beaten all over the field, and it's very, very unusual. It's going to be it's really hard to see them coming back from the position to find themselves in a half time here.
Again, Ger, in our pre-match chat, I posed the issue to you: should Galway try and out-muscle them today?
Yeah.
And you said you need the skill as well as the muscle.
And they have the skill and the muscle, because you know, we don't usually put the two words Kilkenny and meltdown in the one sentence, but that's exactly what it is today. And the reason for it is because tactically Galway are playing a brilliant game, and there were hints of this against Offaly. They've withdrawn that half forward line away out the midfield. Even their full forward line are far out. So the whole mid third of the field is completely crowded. And then they said to themselves, right, we'll play them at their own game. We'll tear into them just as hard as they're tearing into us. Yeah. We'll hook and we'll block, we'll win the ball, and we'll give. And when they win it, they're using it really intelligently. They're giving it to a man who's running from midfield, he's loose, and they're scoring the long range points. That's where most of the points have come, is from long range. The one goal came from close in, everything else is coming from long range. So tactically, Cunningham has got it absolutely right, but more important than that, nobody suspected that there was this kind of heart, this kind of determination in Galway, and it's as if they're making up for all of the hurt of the last few years, you know, that this is their day, and it's very hard to see them losing that grip now.
Well, they're certainly well in command at this stage. The start was brilliant by Galway, and when you add on top of that then, Tomas, a goal by somebody like Joe Canning that really lifted the crowd that's here.
Yeah, and John mentioned, you know, I mean, this is kind of when Damien Hayes around the middle of the park, right, and Kilkenny were at 6s and 7s in the first half period. I mean, look at the space that's inside, and there's no better man than you want inside here one-on-one than Joe Canning. And I mean, tactically, Galway got this completely right. Damien Hayes out to midfield. And for 10-15 minutes here, the Kilkenny backs did not know where to go. They didn't know who was picking up Joe Canning, because he kept changing over as well. And to get him inside on a one, that was the ideal start for Galway. And he buried it into the back of the net. And that was a great tonic. We've always seen Kilkenny do that to the opposition. This time it's on the reverse. Galway got the scores in the first 10 minutes, and they pushed on from there.
In talking to you, Liam, before the game about how you, Tipperary, had beaten Kilkenny, you said you scored 4 goals, they scored 1. Galway have scored 2 goals in that first half. David Burke getting the second.
Yeah, David Burke, you know, and this guy, I mean, he's been playing really, really well. There was a good few snippets of him before the game. And, you know what, it suited him again. You see, their movement is what's hurting him, because Tommy Walsh generally half-back. If he steps out there, there's someone behind him. But in this instance, he finds himself 1-on-1 back in the corner. David Burke steps inside him. And, you know, when he gets in there, there's no one else between him and the goals. And, you know, he's a really, really good stickman, this guy. And a great shot off his left-hand side corner of the net. And, like, those 2 goals have been 2 killer blows. And
it's very uncharacteristic to see Kilkenny letting somebody like that slip in behind them.
It's so unusual, because generally, you know, that with Kilkenny, they set themselves up so that's cornerback, fullback, cornerback, and here you find they've lost their shape completely.
They're not holding
Paul Murphy was 30 yards outside Tommy Walsh in this instance, so they haven't held their lines at all.
They're not holding the line at all. That's the usual thing with. And the last time they lost against Tipperary was the very same thing. They didn't hold the line. They followed the men out the field. Now the very same thing is happening today. And even Jackie Terrell, for that goal there, he was going away outside Joe Canning. But Joe had set himself in the right position. Terrell was struggling to get him. He had the ball in his hand and the ball in it. But it's you have to hand it to God.
If you do,
this is a brilliant tactical plan, and they're carrying it out to perfection.
Kilkenny have probably lost their shape because of the way Galway have, as they say, horsed into them.
So
I mean, their attitude has been excellent.
What do you do, like, if you're a back there and all the forwards are going out the field? You let them out the field, knowing that Galway have the skill to put the ball over the bar from 40-50 yards. But you just can't let them all loose.
But they've done exactly to Kilkenny what they've done to teams, right? I mean, every time Jackie Terrell's come over the ball, he's got a shoulder charge around the middle of the field. And when they've got it, and you mentioned about the crowd that's out in the middle of the field, putting the ball into open space. And here's Canyon, right? I mean, he's had a stormer of a first half as well. I mean, physically strong. They've got in the hooks, they've got in the blocks.
Two of them there again.
Two of them there.
Joe Canning back there again. 50 yards of his own goal. hooks his man, and lays off a great ball to Damien Hayes. Hayes lays off a great ball down the wing again to David Ball. It's just brilliant tactical play, and it's, you know, a lot of thought has gone into it, a lot of practice has gone into it, and, you know, it's great to see.
And this is the number 2,
David
Collins coming up there, you know.
And again, because you see there where you have the extra man midfield, Kilkenny then to bring somebody from their forward line out, and how many balls have gone up inside there, and there's an extra man in back in defence. There's no goal threat coming from Kilkenny at all, even at the other side.
And you see, as well as that, Tomas, they haven't met any opposition like this before. They haven't met in long time, since Tipperary in 2010. They haven't met opposition closing them down, harrying them, harassing them, crowding them out, taking it off them. But this time it's been laid off really well, just as Tip did in 2010. It's laid off time, man in space, ball over the bar.
Time for us to take another break here in the programme. After that, we'll be returning to the action at Croke Park. Now, also giving you a chance to enter our latest competition. There's a trip to this year's All-Ireland hurling final in the offering.
This week, the chefs head to Mayo. Welcome to Westport House.
I'm out of my comfort zone today. I'm not going to be in the kitchen that much.
Using the very best of local produce.
I think he's fresh now.
Martin and Paul Surf and Turf, Wednesday at 8 on RTE1.
The same hoarse voices, the same clenched fists, the same words uttered that some sitters missed, the same soaring highs, the same crashing lows, the same oh yeses, the same oh noes, the same old characters, the same place in the stands, the same mad passions. We're the same, we're fans. Championship every Monday in the Irish Examiner.
There are several handy ways to pay your TV licence. One of them is not through interpretive dance. An easier one is by calling into any post office. It's the law, so pay your TV licence in a way that suits you.
Looking nifty 50. Need a number nifty? Call 11850.
As changeable as our Irish summer can be, at least you can still enjoy these hot deals from Londis. Pick up a 12-pack of Coca-Cola for just €4.50 or 20 bottles of Carlsberg for an amazing €14. And perfect for the barbecue, Londis premium chicken fillets just €5. Londis, close to you.
Is your sports club keeping up with the Lucasade Sport Club Crusade? 3 sports clubs in Ireland will win €10,000 by collecting as many bottle caps from Lucasade Sport and Lucasade Sport Light as possible. The new limited edition Lucasade Sport Summer Fruits bottle is your club's chance to make a dash for the line, because its red cap is worth 2 bottle caps. Go to lucasadesport.ie and keep collecting Lucasade Sport bottle caps.
Centra, sponsors of the GAA Hurling Championship.
Looking ahead to the evening edition of the Sunday Game here on RTE2 television. Okay, competition time again here on the Sunday Game. Get ready to take down some details and you could be in for a very nice break, and also heading to this year's All-Ireland hurling final.
We're giving you the chance to win a fantastic trip for you and a friend to attend this year's All-Ireland hurling final in Croke Park on September 9th. This great prize includes 2 nights accommodation in the Radisson Blue Royal Hotel in Dublin with an evening meal, match tickets and €3,000 spending money. For your chance to win, answer this. Which of these was the winning manager of the 2011 All-Ireland Senior Hurling Championship? Was it Anthony Daly, Declan Ryan or Brian Cody? To enter, call 1515 71 71 82 or text the word hurling followed by your answer and name to 57111. Viewers in the north can also text to 57111 or call the number on screen.
Welcome back to the second half, and straight from the throw in, it is Cyril Donlan that gets his 4th point of the game. Remarkable stuff, and it is so important that from a Galway perspective, when you're playing this great Kilkenny team, who are in trouble no doubt, that you maintain your concentration. A point at the start of the second half, huge psychological boost.
Yeah, great score, because you want to start as you finish, Marty, and Cyril Donlan, excellent. He's having a great season, very, very good and very impressive against Offaly the last day, and he's playing out left half forward now, and he's being marked by Paul Murphy, who's normally a cornerback, because Kilkenny have 5 backs, and that create enormous space for Galway and give them a huge advantage.
Going to take the sideline cut is David Collins, Young Player of the Year back in 2005. In his 7th championship season. Just getting a little touch there was Richie Doyle. The umpire is adamant that went off a Galway man last. Protests a little bit weak from Conor Cooney. Decision stands. It's a puck out for David Herity.
Yeah, Martin, just looking down at Kilkenny, a little bit of confusion in the defence. Tommy Walsh came over to mark Cyril Donlan, and Paul Murphy pushed him away to the left hand side, and he's gone out now to try and mark David Burke in the left half back position, and James O'Grady, I think, has given it a 65.
And the referee has actually overruled his umpire down at that Hill 16 end. Tom McNicholas and Johnny Fitzpatrick are down there, and the referee felt that the right decision was a 65 to his credit. So this is a chance for Joe Canning, who scored a goal and 5 points in the first half. Cracking goal after just 2.5 minutes. Hits it, but it's tailing left and wide. That is only Galway's 5th wide of the game. They had just 4 in the first half. Everything was going over. And as the lads were saying at half-time in the analysis, Donald mentioned here as well about meltdown. Surely Henry Shefflin was being held back. Eventually there's a free given to Henry Shefflin, but to be honest with you, I can concur with Henry's thoughts. It was a foul. Look at the holding there by Kevin Hines. But referee finally giving the decision to the black and amber.
And that's the second puck out that David Hurry has hit straight down there, like a yellow card for Kevin Hines, but that's the second puck out that he's hit straight down towards Shefflin. Shefflin won the first one in the first half, and he's won the second one as well here now, so maybe that'll be the tactic for Kilkenny in the second half.
Galway men on the line. Henry Shefflin standing over the ball, taking his point, his 4th of the match, and trying to encourage and inspire his colleagues further out the field. And remember now, and it's important to note, that Henry Shefflin has gone in full forward. Kevin Hines, the Galway full back, is now on a yellow card. So now whether or not Anthony Cunningham may decide to change things around, or just hope that Kevin Hines doesn't foul for a second time. Loose ball picked up by Michael Rice. Hand pass intercepted clearly by Joe Canning. Back there again is Jackie Tyrrell. Head down, ball in hand. Sideline ball given to Galway. And once again, it's Joe Canning.
Yeah, and Galway are being very, very forceful. They're not allowing the Kilkenny defenders out as easy as they normally get, and Jackie Tyrrell, they've targeted him particularly, and forcing him out there, and good sideline one by and Joe Canning. Probably go for this one now. He had a short one, the first one, the first half. Could go for this and they stick it over the bar. To be a huge psychological blow for Kilkenny if he gets it.
Twice an All-Ireland minor medalist, twice an under-21 All-Ireland medalist. This one is wide again. 6 wides for Galway. Just to the left. Loose ball, Johnny Cohen puts in the hurl. Centre half forward is TJ Reid. Breaking ball comes out, knocked off a Galway man. Picked up by Niall Dunham. Kilkenny. The Kilkenny man fouled the possession, and that's going to be a free for Kilkenny.
Yeah, 3 times. Marty Galway will want to be careful here now that they don't give away frees and that they don't turn over possession. That sideline puck went wide, and bit by bit, if you entice Kilkenny and you invite no better team to come on, and all you need is a goal or two, and maybe questions will be asked, and a little bit of doubts come into Galway play, and that will all suit Kilkenny.
Free taken by Paul Murphy. Galway come away with it with Andy Smith. Laying it up. Farris Cyril Dunn scored 4 wonderful points in the first half. Sweeps it over towards Damien Hayes. He carried a little bit too much strength. Hayes gets there. It's a straight pull, but back there is Tommy Walsh, unmarked. Has the time and the composure to drive it long. Given a bit of verbal abuse by a colleague, he should have gone short. It's not often you have that happen in a match that somebody goes out to Tommy. Once again, it's Michael Rice. Survives the initial challenge, uses the short grip, sends a ball in, and that is going over the bar. Michael Rice, is he the man to show them the way back into the game?
Yeah, fine score by Michael Rice there, a very forceful player, and obviously himself and Michael Fennelly are the top choice Kilkenny midfielders, and Michael Fennelly's been lost. His loss has been felt in a big way today.
Puck out by James Skehill. Loose ball picked up this time by Killian Buckley. Played at left half forward in the league final. Batted away. Good call by Richie Doyle. Sends it out to the wing. A race for possession. Moore. It's Collins. Goes back to sweep up. Goes back first to centre half back Tony O'Gregan. Comes from his centre half forward Niall Burke. 2 good points so far in this championship. A lovely diagonal ball. 2 Portumna lads going for it, and it's Canning. Smith is outside. Canning looks around. He floats one in, and it's a very dangerous ball cut out this time by Tommy Walsh. As Canning tried to create an opportunity for his club and county mate Damien Hayes. Johnny Cohen beaten on this occasion by the Kilkenny captain. It's in fact Aidan Fogarty. Johnny Cohen goes back to track, and it's out over the sideline ball for Galway.
Well, I think if we look at the last bit of play there, a beautiful ball across the field for Joe Canning. I think Joe would have been better advised just to knock it over the bar. Every little nail in the coffin is important, and every little miss by Galway now gives Kilkenny an extra little bit of heart.
Loose ball again. Rice shouldered off it by Damien Hayes. Galway with possession. Sending it low as the goal scorer, David Burke. Andy Smith, a little bit too fancy. Easily cut out by Brian Hogan. There's a little bit of afters between Hogan and David Burke, but they continue on. Down at the other end, it's Henry Shefflin battling hard. Fergal Moore is there, and it is Tony O'Gregan charging forward in the middle of the field. I haven't actually ever seen Regan do this. Great work by the centre back, and TJ Reid dispossesses it. Sends it low along the surface towards Richie Power. Good work by Owen Larkin. It's Larkin with a little bit of help coming from TJ Reid. Good work by the captain, showing a little bit of inspiration. Has to go back to try and maintain possession. Little step inside from Killian Buckley. Floats one in high. 2 against 2. Power at the end of it. Inside the large rectangle. There too is Fergal Moore. It's a chance for Kilkenny! Brilliantly struck home. And Kilkenny rejoice in Croke Park.
Well, if you watch Marty, the Galway fullback got caught in front of Richie Power. Richie Power went up and just parted to Richie Hogan on his own, and he stuck it. Watch it again, came in from behind him, came in behind Fergal Moore. Kevin Hines then was caught picking up Henry Shefflin and Richie Hogan free and buried it. And Kilkenny have played much better since the change of halves, and certainly we saw little mistakes by Galway. Tony O'Grady making a 60-yard run when he could have struck it, and they lost the ball, and bit by bit they're inviting Kilkenny onto them.
Kilkenny back in business. A goal after 44 minutes by Richie Hogan. David Collins, Kilkenny now showing a bit of intensity. Stepping aside from the challenge is Damien Hayes. All-Star hurler 2005. The pass inside was not a good one. Comes to David Burke. 1-1 in the first half. Great stick work. Blocked superbly. He has it again as he was falling down. What a fabulous piece of skill by David Burke. He's now scored a goal and 2 points. A magnificent goal in the first half, but watch the skill, watch the stick work, the balance. This shouldn't have been a score, but look at that. Beautiful.
Great score, Marty, right, and that will get the crowd on their feet.
Back it comes to Neil Donoghue. Sending it up long. Gathered this time by Owen Larkin. Left half forward on his back, left half back in reality. Trying to create chances. Tony O'Grady, Henry Sheffield. Away by Kevin Hines. Comes out for Richie Parr. Hand pass over to Michael Rice. He's already scored a point. He's throwing the slither up into the air, hitting it high, but it's left and wide for Kilkenny's third wide of the game.
Well, he'll be disappointed with that, Marty, because Aidan Fogarty had made a little run off his marker there, and there was a big space in front of him, and that you'll be expecting Rice to pick him out, but he'll be very disappointed with that effort. Every chance that Kilkenny get now is vital to their cause.
Tuck out by James Scahill. Joe Canning. Hogan with him. Was Canning fouled? The referee thought so. There's a free in for Galway. Tommy Walsh pushing Andy Smith away, but Canning was fouled here clearly by Brian Hogan. A free in for the men from the west. And a chance for Joe Canning.
Yeah, and Brian Hogan picked up a yellow card for that, man. That was his third personal foul. I think lucky to get away with the first one, and the second one picked up a yellow there, and I think the referee is dishing out the yellow cards a bit easier this half. Kevin Hines got one there for, knocking the snuff foul, but I think anything that stops up the play, he's going to be hard on that.
Fully concentrated. It's Joe Canning. Takes nothing for granted and puts it over the bar. It's still a very impressive scoreline if you're from Galway, and it's a daunting task even for a great side. The All-Ireland champions, Leinster champions, Kilkenny, and Galway go forward again. It's Burke being held by Noel Hickey, one of them, two of them. Play continues. Burke is a hard grafter. Scored a fantastic point that I'll talk about for a long time. Ball inside. It's a poor one to Paul Murphy. In comes Andy Smith. Ball breaks free for Cyril Donnelly. Tries to get around. Hand passes it back outside. There's a flick on. There's Damien Hayes. First time pull. In towards the corner. As Galway retain possession. Canning. Lovely stick work. Dodges and dives. Then turns. Shoots. And is that a score or what? Joe Canning. They may talk to Joe Duffy on the radio, but you have to talk to Joe Canning when it comes to hurling of this quality. Magnificent.
Well, beautiful little shimmy there, right, and held the ball well, as every good forward does. Seems to play in slow motion, and a beautiful
puck out, comes down towards Johnny Cohen. He's had so much ball. It's hard to imagine. Done really well. Damien Hayes working hard. Brian Cody encouraging from the sideline. So too Anthony Cunningham. Irla Tanyan coming across to take this.
Well, Damien Hayes has been very, very effective today, Marty. Sometimes, in the past he played a roving role and wasn't that effective, but highly effective against Dublin and against Dublin as well. So he's really in great form this season, and he's a thorn in Kilkenny sides all day.
Hard-working Brian Hogan getting away from Cyril Donnelly. Ball inside from Richie Hogan, cut out by Tony O'Grady. Hand pass to Andy Smith is a poor one. Comes in with a hefty challenge on Hogan, but Hogan from in front of the sideline. Now comes the keeper, but Shefflin gets the touch. Henry makes it a goal and 4 points for him personally, and 2 goals and 6 points for Kilkenny. The complexion on the scoreboard is changing. Beautiful ball inside.
There didn't seem to be any danger there, right? And then the ball was given away, and over to Richie Hogan. Tony O'Regan would have been better, maybe just to shepherd him down the line a bit. Went for the big shoulder, missed him, and beautiful cross. Shefflin, the old head, they mastered up high and just knocked it into net. And now 10 points between them. Galway still in the driving seat, Martin, but bit by bit, Kilkenny are coming back to this game.
David Burke sends it into the centre. Here goes Damien Hayes, up again on his scooter to try and re-establish a better lead. It's Damien Hayes' first point in this Leinster final, and it's now 2-17 to 2-6. Lovely sweet ball by David Burke. Great vision. Here comes Hayes. Good engine, good score.
Great pace, Martin.
Comes down past Richie Power. Working hard. Big challenge by Andy Smith, being fouled by the midfielder. Free in for Kilkenny. Free going to be taken by Henry Shefflin. To steady the ship, to reduce their opponent's lead. And that is over the bar. A goal and 5. All the points coming from frees. 10 points between the teams, 20 minutes to go.
I just looked down there, Marty, and Damien Hayes has gone back now into a standard right corner forward position, almost full forward now, being marked by Noel Hickey, and that's a poor matchup for Kilkenny pace-wise. If the ball can go in, if Galway can get a bit of quality ball into him, he'll do wreck inside there.
Brian Hogan. Niall Dunn hit a fair shoulder. First by Richie Power, then by Richie Hogan. Survived the two Richies to deliver the ball. Hogan again, rock solid. Looked like a frontal charge from Cyril Donnellan. It was. It's a free for the All-Ireland winning captain of last year. Ball inside. Referee wants the whistle to be taken again.
Yeah, definite free there by Cyril Donnellan, straight into the chest of Brian Hogan. And one have to say that James McGrath's refereeing it very, very well, Marty. He's been very sensible, and the play is flowing. And I suppose he's letting the play go on. And Kilkenny normally get the benefit of that because that's their style, but Galway are imposing their own style on Kilkenny today.
Free by David Howard, he drops it to the square. TJ Reid goes up, the ball comes loose. It's a scramble, comes back outside to Richie. Saved this time by James Scahill. Richie Hogan got a slight touch on it, and it goes out over the sideline. Sideline ball for Kilkenny.
Yeah, Richie Hogan just standing off as a good goal poacher does, and Aidan Fogarty just unlucky trying to knock the ball forward with his boot there, and if it had come a bit faster and a bit cleaner, maybe Richie Hogan might have stuck in the back of the net, but Galway survived.
Michael Rice, sideline cut into the middle. Donoghue tries to get a touch. It's Cohen again. Nipping across is Henry Shefflin. Lovely stick work. And Henry gets his first point from play. And Kilkenny remain very much alive.
Yeah, great example of forward play there. He had to adjust his stick to make sure he wasn't hooked, and another good point from Henry Shefflin, and his influence is growing in the game.
Galway changing. They're taking off Conor Cooney. On is number 22. That's Jonathan Glenn. And Glenn immediately in the action. Quick layup. Michael Rice has made an impact, certainly since he was introduced. Great catch as Kilkenny show their character. Aidan Fogarty at the end of this. Johnny Cohen beaten on this occasion. Fogarty fouled. Free in for Kilkenny.
Yeah, and that's far better, supply. Michael Rice knocked the ball up there for Fogarty, and we saw in the first half, I know they were under pressure and they didn't have much ball. They were just striking the ball willy-nilly into the defence, and Johnny Cohen was picking up an amount of free ball, but bit by bit Kilkenny are getting back and they're using the ball much better in the second half.
Henry Shefflin taking his point. It's a 1 goal and 7 points tally for this man. And Kilkenny edge a little bit closer. Yellow card for Johnny Cohen. Brian Cody believes that his team can still come back in this Leinster final. 16 minutes left on a dramatic day in Croke Park. And no matter where you are in the world, I have no doubt you're enjoying this. This is going to be stern action by the referee, a yellow card for David Collins. Scores a point, gets a yellow card. It's a mixed day for Collins, and when you see that challenge, you'd have to agree with the referee.
Well, what was wrong about it from a Galway point of view, Marty, was the fact that Joe Canning was in possession and there was no need for David Collins to do it, and that's a little breakdown in discipline, and bit by bit, as I said, they're inviting Kilkenny onto them, and that's always a dangerous thing. I know there's 15 minutes left, and there's 8 points in it, but that's the dangerous thing when you're playing Kilkenny.
Henry Sheffield dropping it in again. The ball comes loose and picked up by Johnny Cohen. On far is Andy Smith. Little bit of misunderstanding between himself and his colleague. That happens to be Jonathan Glenn. Over first, Joe Canning in space. Trouble looming for Kilkenny. Canning puts it between the posts. It's a goal and for Joe Canning. A goal and 7 points for Henry Shefflin. There's not just a county battle, there's a personal battle in terms of the scoring stakes. Ball in for his Canning. He had the chance, he took it with aplomb.
And great vision from Johnny Glynn to pick him out.
Ball sent down by Hickey. Plenty of space for Henry Shefflin. In comes Tony Regan to challenge. Fair challenge is the referee. Henry on his knees. Ball is there loose. Scrappy, and it's Johnny Cohen again. They'll be writing songs about this guy if they win this Leinster title. Cohen to Andy Smith. Smith gives it long. Over for us Joe Canning, who Galway have given kind of a little bit more of a free roll, taking on Paul Murphy. The 24-year-old is hard to stop. It takes 2 men to stop him, and even then he wins a free. And Joe Canning is trying to inspire his colleagues to keep up the momentum. Is this going to be their day?
Well, you can see bit by bit, Joe Canning being left inside with a variety of defenders. Paul Murphy picking him up that time, and no need for Tommy Walsh to come in there and give the free away. So another little chance for Galway to extend their lead.
James Regan is on for Galway, and the player that's going off is Irla Tanyan, who was very good in the opening 25 minutes or so. So possibly tiredness there affecting Irla Tanyan. Kilkenny are going to bring off, TJ Reid is going off, and Matthew Ruth is coming off. And on the field, it's Joe Canning, steadying the ship. Just when the few leaks were being exposed at the other end, he registers his 9th point. 1-9 for Joe Canning, 2-19 for Galway, 2-9 Kilkenny. This is Matthew Ruth, son of Matt Ruth, who won several All-Ireland medals with Kilkenny. TJ Reid, who scored a wonderful goal against Dublin, is the player going off. David Collins. Back to Johnny Cohen. Johnny goes long. Paul Murphy comes forward. Survives the first challenge. Gives it long. Dangerous ball. Owen Larkin underneath it. Ball comes free. Pulled on first down. And James Skehill stands his ground and comes away with a sliotar and drives it long. Joe Canning. Hefty challenge. Surely that was a foul. He ended up injured himself. Coming away with it with the sliotar in the hand. Lays it off inside for his James Regan. Won back superbly by Jackie Tyrrell. Goes long. Tries to get Richie Power. Comes in just at the right, well, almost the right time. Ball batted down for his Andy Smith. A crossfield ball, but it just didn't work. David Herity comes off his goal line. Gets there ahead of James Regan. Farah's Jackie Tyrrell. Jackie goes for distance. Long ball again. Big Tony O'Gregan is behind it. So too is Kevin Hines. Great catch by Tommy Walsh. Was undecided what exactly to do with the ball. Gives it instead for his Richie Power. Richie goes for the score. It has the legs, it has the power, and it has the accuracy. 2nd point for Richie Power. 9 points between the teams.
Well, great play up and down the field there, Marty. Both sides, great credit due to both sides there, right? And ball coming eventually to Richie Power, and he stuck it over the bar. But Galway very unlucky there with that crossfield pass to James Regan. If he had got it, he was in for a goal, the former minor. He's a very direct runner, and he'll give a bit of impetus there now too.
Aidan Fogarty's ball inside is escorted literally over the end line by James Skehill. Seconds ticking on the clock. Moves a foot perhaps along the sideline. Anthony Cunningham, first year in charge, won 2 senior All-Ireland medals himself in 1987 and 88. Captained the Galway Miners to win their first All-Ireland title back in 1983. He's been successful with St. Bridget's and Roscommon, with Gary Castle and Westmeath. Is it possible that he's going to guide Galway to their very first historic Leinster title? Just about 11 minutes on the clock. Still plenty of time. Gathering the ball in his hand is Jonathan Glenn. Gives it into the centre to David Burke. 1-2 behind his name. Ball drops into David Herity. Survives the initial challenge. Gives it to Jackie Tyrrell. Jackie All-Ireland under-21 captain in 2003 to beat Galway. Knocked down by Johnny Cohen. It's Kilkenny to try and retain possession. Killian Buckley trying to set up Owen Larkin. Instead it comes to Kelly. Quick ball inside towards Damien Hayes. Ball skids off the surface. Kilkenny man without a hurl. It's Brian Hogan that has the hurl. Sends it back long. Batted down by David Burke, cleverly to Joe Canning, who clearly called. In the middle of the pitch, he drives the sliotar long, and David Herity waves it over the end line. The drama continues in Croke Park. A match.
Well,
hard to believe what happened in the first half.
10 minutes to go now, Marty, and Galway 9 points up. You know, it's within themselves to close out the game, and Joe Canning coming way out the field now, winning another ball, and you know, they're making sure they're just playing 2 inside forwards, or just 1 at times, and that's causing Kilkenny huge problems. And from this point of view, we'd be expecting Galway to go ahead and win it.
Change in the Galway team. Niall Burke looks to be the man that's coming off, and Peg Harron coming on. So number 25, Peg Harron is on from the Liam Mellows club in Galway City. And going off is Niall Burke, who really started well and has really given his all. A little wink, but perhaps the job is almost there. Yeah, but when you're playing Kilkenny, you're never sure.
Yeah, but he went down about 5 minutes ago there, Marty, and seemed to be affected by a leg injury, so maybe that's the reason for him coming off.
Joe Canning dropping this right and wide. Well, back in 2010, when they last met in the Leinster final, and first and only time, there was 31,376. 22,171 in Croke Park to witness potential history. Here is Cyril Dunn, 4 points he scored in the first half. Oh, it hits off the top of the post, comes back, umpire signals wide. Puck out quickly taken by David Herity. Referee's whistle is blown. He said the puck out was taken too quickly, and it's going to be taken again. Brian Cody talks to Mick Dempsey. Is there another change about to happen? Pulled on first time by Tony O'Gregan. Peg Harron gets his first touch, and potentially a second. Nipping in, however, is James Regan. The substitutes are working hard. Lovely stick work by Regan. He knows he's going to be hooked if he tries the shot. Stepping up, however, to the mark is Tommy Walsh. Drives it long. In far is Killian Buckley. Dicks for a man. Stepping by the challenge. Low ball inside towards Richie Power. But again, it dribbles along the surface and out over the end line and wide.
Yeah, just a little mix-up communication-wise there, because both Richie Power and Richie Hogan came for the same ball, and if Richie Hogan had gone in behind, or Richie Power had stayed where he was, maybe Killian Buckley would have picked him up, but you could see what he was trying to do, knock a through ball, and James Cahill just escorted it wide.
Skell's puck out. Batted down by the Galway team that is really playing with tremendous passion. But that, from their perspective, a little bit disappointing as their 10th wide. 63 minutes played, 7 minutes to go. 9 points between the teams. At half-time, there was an 18-point gap. But the All-Ireland champions have responded. Despite the loss of Michael Finlay in the league final, what a loss he has been. Kilkenny's passion and heart once again to the fore. But you cannot even afford to miss players like Michael Finlay, as there's a bit of afters going on here between Aidan Fogarty and David Burke. But Finlay's loss is huge, Don.
Well, hurler of the year last year. I've often said a box-to-box player, fella who's back in his own 30-metre line defending 1 minute. He's back up in the opposing 30-metre line. The next minute he's a huge player, and he'll be a loss to any team. And I suppose Kilkenny, after the double match, felt that Killian Buckley and Paddy Hogan did very, very well that night, but they were exposed a little bit today. Killian Buckley hurling well in the second half, but Finlay would be a loss, and is a huge loss to Kilkenny.
Henry Shefflin gets his 8th point of the game. 2:19, 2:11. 6 minutes left. And who has the sliotar here? It's Jonathan Glenn. Takes too many steps. Free for Kilkenny. And you're never sure that you've beaten Kilkenny, or indeed you've won the Bob O'Keefe Cup, until you're on the N17 and you know where you're heading for. Ball down over the sideline. Who touched it last? It would seem to be a Galway ball.
Yeah, Jackie Tyrrell there trying to find a quick ball to Richie Hogan and just screwed out over the line. But Galway now with 6 or 7 minutes left. We want to be taking time out of everything. Freeze, puck outs, just slowing the game down and just making sure they're 8 points up and just making sure that they kill the momentum of the game.
Ball cut in by Johnny Cohen, grabbed superbly by Cyril Donlan. Dropping it in, but it's well to the right and wide. That is 11 wides for Galway in this match.
Yeah, that's about the 5th wide mark in the last 5 minutes. If they had got 1 or 2 of those, the match was closed out.
Loose ball comes fast. Killian Buckley. David Collins in close attention. Flicking one into the centre. There's trouble here for Galway. Good blocking down. Matthew Root had an opportunity. Comes out for Neil Donoghue. The referee's whistle is blown. And I'm not too sure what he's giving here, to be honest with you.
I think he's saying that one of the Galway players had pulled somebody, that there was a little bit of pulling or dragging, and that he's giving the free in, I think, to Kilkenny, and he's giving a throw in.
Throw ball, in fact. Andy Smith was asking what happened, and he grabs the sliotar and comes away with it. Pumps it down the wing. Ty Harron. Noel Hickey with it. Harron aware of the challenge coming in. Referee's whistle is blown. Said he took too much out of it. Free to Kilkenny. There is a nervousness in the Galway camp, one senses, despite having that 8-point advantage. Silly mistakes just being made at the moment. Perhaps Damien Hayes can engineer a little bit of space for Joe Canny. Chased by Paul Murphy. Canny on the ground, trying to hold on. Murphy coming in to challenge. Cyril Donlan, tenacious as always, getting by Brian Hogan. Knocked off the hurl. Sideline ball for Galway. And the clock ticks towards the 70th minute.
A great commitment by Cyril Donlan. He's had a very, very good game for Galway, and he's been everywhere. He's had Tony O'Regan as well at centre back, so that'll suit Galway nicely. Take 20 seconds out of the clock there and decide what they want to do and slow it down. 8 points up. Referees pointing to the watch now, making them hurry up. But I think that Galway would be more advised just to take things out of it. Joe Canning taking a sideline here. This can take up to 30 seconds off the clock at times, Marty, and that's all they're trying to do at this stage, is to kill the game.
Joe Canning takes it short as far as Ty Harron. Well won back by Noel Hickey. As far as Jackie Tyrrell. Andy Cohen going to backtrack, but Tony O'Regan says he'll take care of it. Gets by the initial challenge. Floats one in. It's a good ball. Jonathan Glenn gets it almost second time. Killian Buckley, Brian Hogan. It's under pressure. Back there is Damien Hayes. Named at left corner forward, but roaming all over the place since 4 o'clock this afternoon. Nice hook by Fergal Moore. Ball slips off his fingertips over the sideline. Sideline ball for Kilkenny. 68 minutes gone. 8 points between the teams. Surely this is history in the making. Surely Galway can hold on for their very first Leinster title in what undoubtedly has to be the shock of 2012. Going back down, Jackie Tyrrell confronted by James Regan. Goes long, Brian Hogan. And there's a chance here for Matthew Root. Takes a shot! And it skids off the surface in Croke Park on the wrong side of the post. And is that perhaps Kilkenny's last chance, last hurrah, on a day when even they must be mesmerised by a first half performance that saw Galway score 2 goals and 12 points to Kilkenny's 4 points, and Kilkenny, All-Ireland champions, held scoreless for the first 19 and a half minutes. Tony O'Regan, short puck out, 2 minutes of additional time. The fresh legs of James Regan. Looking outside is Cyril Donlan. Donlan calls for it. Gathers it second time round. Steps inside the challenge. Can he score from there? Yes, he can. It's further Lynn, says Cyril Donlan, for his 5th point of the match. And surely now, the Bob O'Keefe Cup, for the very first time in the GA's history, in the Leinster's history of wonderful hurling, it's going across to Shannon. back to Galway for the very first time. Owen Larkin brings it forward. Galway thinking about introducing another sub. Larkin floats one in. There's a connection. Our last man to touch it was a Kilkenny man, and that goes out over the end line. Galway now going to bring in Joseph Cooney, son of legendary Joe Cooney from the Sarsfields Club around Bullen and Newin. They love their hurling. Played right half back. Up is 5-point scorer Cyril Donlan from the Corrie Pearson's Club around Gurteen and Ballymacworth in East Galway.
I think he epitomised the effort today, Marty. He's been very, very good from the start, as I said, Tony O'Regan and Damien Hayes as well as Joe Canning. They've been excellent, and they've brought the fight to Kilkenny from the start.
Joseph Cooney immediately into the action. Slither in hand. Out the way first, Damien Hayes flicks it forward. Scored only 1 point, but what a hero for Galway this afternoon in Croke Park. We have touched off and gone beyond the 70th minute. Anthony Cunningham, he won the Under-21 All-Ireland title last year as manager. Is he about to add the Leinster title to his very impressive and growing CV, and beaten the man that indeed is the king of all managers, Brian Cody?
Well, he got the tactics spot on, Marty. You would have to say he had the players to carry out those tactics as well. But I mean, has been very, very good since the start. They've completely unhinged Kilkenny in the first half, and fully deserving of their victory here.
Standing over the slither, Joe Canning taps it over, and for the very first time, Joe Canning shows a little bit of emotion because he knows the cup is heading westwards.
And you would have to say, Marty, from the very start, we saw a new Joe Canning, extremely fit, huge work rate all day, as well as the scores, and that is something that he hasn't always shown, but brilliant today.
Going back to gather is Paul Murphy. Ball comes for us, Andy Smith. Stepping away from Owen Larkin. Sending a diagonal ball, but there's nobody there except David Herity, goalkeeper. 72 minutes played in Croke Park on a day when we expected Kilkenny to win. But you are watching on RTE Live the Sunday game, history being made, because for the very first time since the GAA was founded in 1884, the Bob O'Keefe Cup, commemorating a man that was a native of Kilkenny, that won an All-Ireland with Laois and was a former president, is going back, going for the first time westwards across the Shannon. The Volvo Ocean Race may be over in Galway, the ships may be gone out, but there's a new ship coming into port, and on it will be the name Bob O'Keefe. It is an emotional day for anybody who loves Galway hurling, a historic, and you've watched it here.
A tremendous day, and from the start, Marty, they took the game to Kilkenny, completely unhinged them, and I think great tactics. They had just one-on-one inside the 20-metre line, and they picked the players out when they were in possession. There was no aimless striking the ball like Galway teams of the past. Everything was done in measured tones, and great credit going to Anthony Cunningham, and great credit going to the players, every one of them, and particularly the defence. They stay with the Kilkenny players. Owen Larkin, TJ Reid, right, completely stuffed out of it, and once they got to half-time, while the game was won, and bit by bit they strangled Kilkenny, and they won by 10 points and fully deserved in the end.
For Galway people all over the world, like Orla Callahan, daughter of Tex Callahan, who's part of the Galway backroom team, who's watching the game in Perth, and for everybody who's been watching the Sunday game live all over the world, you are watching a little bit of history, for this is Galway's first ever Leinster senior hurling title, defeating the All-Ireland champions on a full-time score of Galway 2 goals, 21 points, Kilkenny 2-11.
Yeah, I know Tex Callahan very well. He'll be one of the very many happy Galway people this evening, a historic occasion. In the commentary box, Marty Morrissey and Donal O'Grady, Liam Sheedy, Ger Loughnane and Tomás McCahey here with me in studio. It's a tremendous effort by the team, and Anthony Cunningham, he's got the Midas touch.
Well, I see, Michael, over the last couple of years, nobody has, maybe bar Liam Sheedy and Tipperary, come up with a game plan to beat Kilkenny, and certainly you must give a lot of credit to Anthony Cunningham and his backroom staff, because they certainly came in with a game plan.
And to Matty Kenny and to Tom Halliburtt.
And to Halliburtt, right? I mean, nobody doubted Galway's ability. We've always spoken about the potential great hurlers great ball players, very, very skillful. But it came down, did they have the bottle realistically to go on and take on Kilkenny? And they showed today there was plenty of bottle in them. They came with a game plan. He upset Kilkenny totally in that first half period by bringing the extra man to midfield in Damien Hayes, and he ran right outside there and they couldn't stop him. And eventually, I mean, you'd say, okay, maybe lost their way a bit in the second half, but give them great credit. They were fantastic on the day, every one of them. And it isn't about the Joe Canning saga or Joe Canning one-man performance. To me, it was totally about a team performance. The 15 of them, and they used the bench in the second half period there. When legs got tired, they brought on the guys that were fit and ready to go.
And you have to say, from the looks of the Kilkenny players, they do look shocked, as they would be, I suppose, after a day like today. But the presentation, as you can see, is about to happen. Fergie Moore about to accept the bubble. Let's go back to Marty.
Thank you, Michael. Yes, Martin Skelly from County Longford, chairman of the Leinster Council, saying the congratulatory words. But what a performance by Anthony Cunningham and his team in his very first year in charge. Disappointment for Tommy Walsh, but he's done it so many times in the past, including 10 Leinster Championship medals. The Bob O'Keefe Cup, native of Kilkenny, as I mentioned earlier, went on to win an All-Ireland with Laois and president of the GAA in the 1930s. It is the biggest cup in the GAA world, and it is going across the River Shannon for the very first time. Before a crowd of 22,171. Joe Canning, who contributed 1 goal and 10, and Tomas Mulcahy is absolutely correct. This was a team effort. Pride of place, passion, intensity. These were the words being mentioned in the Galway dressing room beforehand. Damien Hayes, Jackie Tyrrell, disappointed. They all looked a little bit shocked. Noel Hickey just beside him. And Martin Skelly has the honour, as chairman of the Leinster Council, to hand over the trophy to a Turlough Moore man from County Galway. Owen Larkin, captain of Kilkenny, must be so disappointed. They never got out of the blocks as Galway threw everything at him. But what a performance by this man. He guided Gary Castle to the All-Ireland Club football final, St. Bridget's of Roscommon to the All-Ireland Club final. That meant several Connacht and Leinster club titles. Took over the Galway under-21 team, won the All-Ireland, and now senior team. He has brought them to the promised land of Leinster Championship glory. They lost the final in 2010. They've won it in 2012. And Anthony Cunningham from St. Thomas's in Peterswell, Kilcreast area of Galway, a place where they really love their hurling. This is a momentous occasion for him. Joe Canning, tears of joy, and rightfully so, gets a word of congratulations from Tony O'Gregan. Canning, just 24, won't be 25 until December. David Burke, who will ever forget his goal and 2 points, and the point in particular, would you believe, when he was on his knees. But Martin Skelly is going to present the trophy. Here it is. This is history. This is something special. It's never been seen before since the GAA was founded in 1884. It's Fergal Moore, captain of Galway, lifting the Leinster trophy for the very first time. It's party time in Galway, surely.
Uachtar on the hearing, Uachtar coming Luke Lascale, Toss on Downarm, a current shot, Locker Ash, her son Fern August win to the Gulliver, don't care now, real! Woo! It's a huge honour for me to accept this cup on behalf of all these proud players and the people of Galway. I'd like to praise and thank Croke Park and the Leinster officials for the warm welcome bringing us into Leinster. It's brought huge benefit to us. We're immensely proud to be here, and we're immensely proud to win the trophy for the first time. There's an awful lot of work takes place behind the scenes to get to where we are today. First off, I want to thank the County Board, Michael Larkin, for standing behind us all the way and supporting us to get here to this point so far in the year. Thank you very much, lads. I'd also like to thank our backroom team, our physios, Dr. Dan, Tex, the Kidman, Adrian, Gordon, all the backroom team that make it all worthwhile. Thanks a million, lads, for all the work. There's one man I'd like to dedicate this trophy to, Pat and Una McDonough. They stood behind Galway hurling for years. They stand behind it for years to come. Pat McDonough and Una, this one is for you. Every ship needs a captain and a manager to steer the way. And in a backroom team, we have a team that are second to none since we started back at Christmas. Anthony, Mazzy, Tom, the job is only half done. I can't wait to finish the next half with you in August. Finally, to Kilkenny. They've been the benchmark for over a decade in Ireland. They've carried the mantle of Leinster champion year after year after year. They're an impressive team. Their achievements will probably go down in history as the greatest ever. We hope we carry the mantle of Leinster champions with the same flair, the same success and the same integrity as they have. It was an awful tough match today, as it always is. I'd like to give 3 cheers to Kilkenny. Hip hip. Hip hip. Hip hip. The worst of work!
Has his place in history as the first Galway captain, as Marty was saying, to accept the Bob O'Keefe Cup and take it across the Shannon. As Tomas Mackay was saying to me a minute ago, there could be a few shipwrecks in Galway this evening.
I think the Valva Classic was up there. There'll be another one there tonight.
I suspect, Gerlach, now there'll be a few shipwrecks when Kilkenny get their hands on their next opponents in this championship.
There will, but you know, when you look back at today's game, you have to see that, like, it's a triumph for tactics and it's a triumph for spirit. You know, and spirit isn't always something we've associated with Galway team. You know, and the tactics, first of all, he must have been watching Spain because he played with no full forward line. You know, Joe Kenny, who was the forward, played out around the middle of the field.
Yeah.
So did Damien Hayes. Now, so they took on Kilkenny at their own game and they out-Kilkenny'd in that middle third of the field. They fought for everything, they blocked down. How many times did you see Tommy Welch and all the great stars, ball taken off them? And when they won the ball, they used it really intelligently. They gave it to a man breaking from midfield into space and they took their scores from far out. That was really the secret, the tactical secret to that win. But the main part of that win was the spirit they showed. You know, the way they walked from beginning to end. Naturally, they tired a bit through the middle of the second half, but they finished really well. And you know, for all the people who campaigned through the years for Galway to come into Leinster, you know, this vindicates everything. You know, their place now belongs in Leinster. It belongs in games like this.
Because up to today, Ger, people were saying this experiment hasn't really worked.
That was the dangerous thing, Michael. It's coming towards the end of its first term now, so it's a massive boost for the Leinster Championship that Galway are in there now. So you have now a Leinster Championship that will be comparable with the Munster Championship. So I think we'll get rid of a lot of this thing about the open draw and all that. But that's for another day anyway. Today is a day that really belongs to Galway, you know, and to Anthony Cunningham, to those players. All the hurt that has been visited them down through the years, they use that in a positive way today to get that kind of a performance out of them. But as you say, there will be a backlash coming from Kilkenny, and you would like to beat next day. But you know, when this happened in before in 2004, everybody said it's coming. They'll win the All Ireland. They didn't.
No.
Once beaten, everybody else gets courage now. Everybody else that'll face them will get courage now. They'll watch what Galway have done. So it has really opened up the championship, and what a battle we're going to have now between now and September.
It has, and of course Kilkenny are still the All-Ireland champions. Liam, one thing that was very impressive in that second half from a Galway point of view was Kilkenny obviously weren't going to lie down under this. They fought their hearts out in the second half, started to squeeze down the score a little bit, but Galway's response was there.
Yeah, all the time Galway just kept on picking off their points, and actually they'll be a little bit disappointed. They had a few wides in the second half that will disappoint them. So, you know, when they look back at the video, they say, God lads, we've a little bit more to go here, because I think, you know, a few times now Cyril Donlan, Damien Hayes and Joe Canning, you know, routine balls you'd expect to put over the bar didn't end up over the bar. But, you know, that's not a bad thing coming out of today in Croke Park, because at the end of the day, you know, this is only halfway house, really. You know, I mean, it's wonderful. I think look at for the game. I mean, Kilkenny have been up there 14 out of the last 15. I don't think you'd have seen the level of celebration if Kilkenny were up there again today. But, you know, it does open it up a little bit as well. It does show us that, like, if you can match them for intensity, they really brought a huge intensity to their play today, and it paid off for them. And as I said, you know, they drove on really in that first half, and that's where they won the game.
It opens it up in another way as well, Tomas, of course, which is that Galway are now into the All-Ireland semi-final, and Kilkenny have dropped down to a quarter-final. So that changes the dynamic of the championship.
Michael, if you're a neutral looking in here, we have a championship now. I mean, people were handing over the McCarthy Cup since the Kilkenny defeat to Dublin, and saying, look, yeah, it's all win with traffic. It's going to be Kilkenny's All-Ireland. We have a serious hurling championship now, which has to be good for the game of hurling. Everybody will be out there looking at it at themselves now, who are left in this championship. Yes, we have an opportunity here. We go down the same style, go down the same commitment, show the same level of spirit that Galway showed here, and they will say to themselves, yeah, we have a chance.
And the two teams in the Munster final next week, Ger, tip and one, they'll be rubbing their chins this evening.
We'll want to win it,
we were just thinking about that, because you were saying, who wants to win it? Because whoever wins that will most likely be playing Kilkenny in the semi-final. But that's nobody would throw the quarterfinals. Whoever wins it now will be playing. If Kilkenny win the semi-final, they'll be playing Kilkenny in the semi-final. You know, the prize for winning is the semi-final. So you'll be saying to yourself, God, we want to face them in the semi-final. But maybe the semi-final is the best place to meet them and beat them, because, you know, once you're beaten, no matter how great a team you are, once you're beaten in the championship, it is difficult to recover from it. You might come the next day and you might come charging all guns and blow everybody out of the way. But what about the next game after that? Doubt now will creep into Kilkenny no matter what. I know that Mick Finlay to come back, that Michael Rice to come back.
Injury-wise and stuff like that. I mean, there are three big players to come back. JJ Delaney, Michael Rice only came in to Finlay to come back and stuff like that, right?
That was a factor today.
That was a factor
we said before the game.
I mean, we can't write them off and say they're gone.
No. We said before the game, just how good are the two midfielders? How good are Killian Buckley and Paddy Hogan? You know, they're still a bit inexperienced for this level, and you know, when the real pressure came on and they found themselves crowded out, they didn't perform like they performed against Dublin. So, you know, Kilkenny have big guns to come back, but now it's wide open, and that's what we want.
We're headed for a short break here on the programme. Back with more on today's Leinster hurling final right after that.
After a heavy defeat in the EA Sports Cup, Derry City will be out for revenge when they host Airtricity League leaders Sligo Rovers at the Brandywell.
Press a goal with loose ball, and it's brought in by Danny North.
The Airtricity League Derry City versus Sligo Rovers Friday on RTE2. This week on Animal Clinic, Lisa has to deal with the only animal she is actually afraid of.
Every time I move the bookcase, it leaps around the place.
Animal Clinic, Thursday at 7 on RTE1.
Pink Lady, so much more than an apple. Take part in this summer's Pink Lady Big Quiz and win any number of prizes.
That feeling of being there when Morris Fitz defied physics. Unbeatable.
We're in the thick of the action on Health 16 when Canavan fired it over.
I cried in Hyde Park as I saw them. Two captains side by side, 67 years between them. I was there.
And I'll be there
this year.
All over again.
The GAA Football Championship. Nothing beats being there.
25% off if you're over 60. That includes frames and lenses, however complicated your prescription.
If you like your yogurts fruity, then there's a new range you'll really enjoy. With delicious summer fruits, mouth-watering fruit medley. There's even a fat-free variety. And before you think it couldn't get any better, it does. They're all from Benecol. So not only do they taste great, they also contain plant stanol ester, which is proven to lower cholesterol. Which Maeve knows is a fact. Benecol, specialist in cholesterol-lowering foods.
Broken nifty 50. Need a number nifty? Call 11850.
When I travel, I don't have to pay for any baggage. I get all the benefits of first-class travel, and I can use my phone. Hello? I can surf the internet, relax. Or I can just chill out in the spa. No, I'm good. I call it a carcation. It's fantastic, like the ship.
Enjoy the greatest choice of routes and sailings and save up to 20% when you book early. Stena Line, making good time.
At Croke Park this afternoon, Galway have claimed the Leinster Hurling Championship for an historic first time ever, beating Kilkenny by 2 goals and 21 points to 2 goals and 11 points. Well, so then, let's get the thoughts of the Galway manager, that's Anthony Cunningham, and I'm sure Joanne Cantwell will pass on the congratulations of everybody here in the studio. Joanne.
I will. The boys say a very big congratulations up there from studio. I don't think any of us saw it coming, but speaking to you before the game and even just the look in your eyes, you did see it coming, didn't you?
Well, we believed that we were going very well in training, and we were absolutely, convinced that we were going to put in a big show. You never know against Kilkenny, really. What champions they've been since. They're 28-29 matches unbeaten in Leinster, and they're an incredible team, and we just were really up to play them, really, more than anything, because you always want to battle the best. And I'm delighted for our lads, particularly the older guys who haven't had, say, underage success. Fergal Moore, our captain there, Peter Isaac, coming off the pitch, said that he never won anything really at intercounty senior level. So I'm delighted for everybody, really.
You did know you were going to put in performance today. Could you really have seen the start that you got today coming, especially keeping Kilkenny scoreless for the first 20 minutes, only one from play in the whole first half?
I suppose if you're underdogs, the best time to go well is really at the start, really, and a very experienced team like Kilkenny probably were waiting there to get out of the blocks themselves, but we've got a great start, and a couple of goals there will really set us up, and our play was very good, though, as you said earlier. Middle third was excellent, and we're feeding a huge amount of balls in, so we're delighted, but it's not the end of Kilkenny either. Today's competition is over today, and we're so delighted to be the first team from the West to win, and we're so delighted to be in Leinster, but that competition is over now today, so it's the All-Ireland series now, and that's immediately what we'll be looking forward to. We'll have to get back to the training field and work hard again. Be aspects of our play there that wouldn't get us over the line the next day, but we'll be working hard again.
I'd love to know what faults you could pick out from today.
Well, I think it's probably lacked a small bit of composure in the second half. We could have kicked on maybe a few points there, drifted wide, and we're going to, you can't train really for that. It's just experience out here in Croke Park, and we're going to learn an awful lot from that. So we'll be looking forward to Wednesday night of training. There's a club round next weekend, and after that, then it's in preparation for August.
But you do look at the second half, and when Kilkenny threatened that comeback, they got those 2 goals. The way your lads responded. Yeah, there was excellent responses on both counts. I mean, we scored points very quickly after they scored a goal, so there was great belief in the team, and that comes with playing and playing well. And we'll be hoping that they'll take that, as much as anything from today's game, that they'll take that belief through their games ahead. Despite the fact that you do have lots of young lads in there who have won underage medals, it can't have been easy to instil that belief on players who have suffered such heartache over the last few years.
That's true, and I've had tough days here and many days that I didn't win, but I'm delighted for our supporters and for the people who've worked so hard at club level. I mean, we're just leading the ship presently. I mean, there's an awful lot of players, volunteers who've worked so hard with these guys under 12, 14 up along, and club hurling is strong in Galway, but they stayed with us thick and thin. So congratulations to the clubs to produce introduced these players and to the players themselves. And I just hope that they'll kick on from this. I mean, there's a lot of young players coming on Galway, and we need success, and we need a win like today that'll help us on the way.
Yeah, well, you're Leinster champions. Well done, and thank you very much, Anthony.
Yeah, they are Leinster champions. They were up by 14 points, Liam, at half time. We knew there'd be some response from Kilkenny. They hit back 2 goals in that second half.
Yeah, they were always going to come with a big fight in the second half. I think, they'll take some gratitude against the fact that they won the second half. But, as soon as the high ball went in, I got a feeling that Richie Power was going to catch it. It's a great catch, and, Richie Hogan standing outside him. Galway defensively a bit disappointed. They left him very loose. I mean, there should have been enough of guys around there to be someone marking. I mean, Richie Hogan, it just was so easy. The ball into the back of the net. He was unchallenged really, but a great take by Richie Power to set up. But they struggled to get their hands on primary possession all day, but when they did get primary possession in there, they made no mistake. And Galway were disappointed with this one. It looks as if the danger is averted. Tony O'Gregan comes across.
Away possession there as well.
Tony O'Gregan had a really good game. I thought held the centre very well, but a misplaced pass in this instance. Richie does well, just holding himself in. Long ball in. You think, is there danger? Henry Shefflin. I mean, what vision. I mean, he just never took his eye off the ball, watched it as it came, just came across the line of the square, got the nicest of flicks to it and knocked it into the back of the net. Fabulous goal. And, gave us a bit of a second half as well, kept us interesting, in fairness, but Kilkenny were never going to go away. And, they'll know coming away out of here, they've won the second half by 4 points. If they didn't start the way they started, I think, as I said, they're far from a finished article. I think in this championship they'll have a huge say.
And we saw TJ scoring a goal like that a couple of years ago, remember, here at Croke Park. But Galway responded, Ger.
That was the crucial thing, After every goal they got, Galway came back and got a point. After the first goal, they came back and got 2 points. Here's Damien Hayes. What a game Damien had at midfield today. He just ran the show from the middle of the field. Now at the start of the day, David Burke, look at, he misses the first. Look at the skill that's involved there. Look at that. Off his knees, he puts it over the bar. That, like we were saying before the game, to beat Kilkenny, you have to number one is you have to have skill. Look at the skill of this here, of David Burke. He's on the team 2 or 3 years. Beautiful score altogether. And when they got the second goal, when Henry got the goal in the second half, back they came again, and they got the next score again, the next point again. That was the crucial thing. Now look at the skill here from Joe. 2 defenders, leaves them in his wake, and just casually strokes it over the bar. So, not many other teams that will be taking on Kilkenny have skillful players that can do the like of that. Now, not many have Joe Cannings, but even they haven't the likes of David Burke either, who have the skill just to. And that breaks the momentum of Kilkenny. There was always the danger they get another goal and bring it down to 5 points. But here they got 2 points after the goal. Damien in again over the bar. So one thing I noticed about today, as if you know, we were all talking about Kilkenny being so good in the air, right? But what Galway did today was, instead of catching in the air, they went up and they batted it to a man who was coming onto the ball. Which was a great tactic. And usually they had the man. It was really, really well. You cannot praise Cunningham and his men for the planning that went into this.
That idea of batting the ball down, those are the kind of balls that Kilkenny usually win, that loose ball.
They did, but they were so alert. They knew that the man was going to bat it, and they had a man coming at speed into where to. And he had just that little bit of a nod on the Kilkenny player and won the ball.
That role that Damien Hayes played today for Galway was very interesting, because Damien is as proud a Galway man as any hurler, but sometimes inside he can get a little bit isolated and lost in the game.
He can get lost. Damien loves to be involved in the action, and often when he's inside in the corner, the ball doesn't come to him and he kind of loses concentration. If you remember down in Kilkenny in the league, the whole full forward line was taken off before half time. So I suppose that that was the genesis of the new tactics for the day.
But I think
so Damien comes out then, he's involved the whole time, he's buzzing around, he's full of energy, and he used both sides of the field, and he used the ball intelligently as well.
I think that was the cruel thing, that there was no wild swings from Damien outside when he got the ball, no shot from long distance. All he was the link-up man to the runners coming through the centre, the little pop pass. But Kilkenny never coped with it. Never coped with it, right? And I mean, when you have that man out there in the middle of the field and you have a defensive line, like you never saw Tommy Walsh getting the ball out of the air, you never saw Brian Hogan catching the ball, and likewise on the other side, we said before the match, TJ Reid catching puck outs, Owen Larkin catching puck outs, not once. Did you see Kilkenny get access to that type of possession today? And that has to be credited to Galway.
But I think they used it much better this year. I mean, I showed a clip at the start of at the programme where they'd done that 2 years ago, and it was a disaster for them. Because they actually poked aimless ball into the corner, and there were 2 against 1 against Joe Kenny.
The men coming to today.
But today they used the ball smart. They gave that 10-15 yard pass, and they used the pace in, and they took them on.
And wasn't it incredible to see Kilkenny in the first half with 1 man inside full forward, right, and 2 Galway men inside? Johnny Cohen just cleaned up. up, came across behind the fullback. Kevin Hines just broke the ball with his man, and Cohen came across and cleared the ball. So, you know, Kilkenny don't always do things right.
It showed the respect Kilkenny had for
Exactly.
Galway and the pace that they had as well. That in defence that they had their 6 backs inside there, they didn't release a man to go back out and mark Damien Hayes because they knew they're going to be caught for pace.
Liam, we saw how those Kilkenny goals in the second half gave Kilkenny some little bit of a lifeline for a while in it, but it was the 2 Galway goals in the first half that really rocked Kilkenny.
Yeah, it was. You know, like it's so important, I think, to get the first goal against Kilkenny, because psychologically, if they get the first goal, and it's a big score. But you know, here we are again. You know, you don't see this too often, as I said, isolated. You know, Joe Canning, he's as trim now this year as I've ever seen the guy in an inter-county jersey. He's in great shape, and he got inside Jackie Turlin. If you catch the ball inside him, you know, you have a great opportunity then, because you have the man beaten already. So brilliant play, I think, by Joe Canning. Great ball in by Italian, and you know, you think, God, that's a great start to get 1 goal. But again, the second goal was tonic, as I said. You know, again, they had Paul Murphy dragged out of his normal cornerback position. He isolated Tommy Walsh and David Burke. David Burke got inside him. You know, he's a lovely striker. He's just such a crisp striker, you know. And like he's got 5-6 yards inside him. And look at that. He had a bit to do still to get that ball into the back of the net, but by God, it was an unstoppable shot. I thought he was very, very impressive. But the foul line as a whole today in Galway, 221, as we said, 5 points for Sir Donald.
From side to side.
Brian Cody, lads, has led Kilkenny to many great days. There may be more to come today. Obviously not one of them. He's with Joanne.
Brian, a big hard luck to you. It's not very often we say that. Are you maybe in a bit of a state of shock?
Far from a state of shock, Joanne. You know, I mean, we never come up any other way in the knowledge that we're capable of losing any given day and capable of winning any given day. I said before the game that, you know, on any given day they could beat us, we could beat them. Certainly they beat us today, beat us convincingly. You know, obviously in the first half they wiped us out, if you like. We regrouped, I suppose, in the second half, and we took the fight to them, and we were genuine to the very, very end.
Why do you think it was that they wiped you out in the first half?
Sport. I mean, it's very hard to explain these things, and I don't have the explanation. I don't have the answers. I'm sure the lads in the studio may have them. I don't. They were sharper. They were stronger. They were just flying, you know, essentially, and it just went. That's the way the game took on that life. And then I suppose we had an opportunity at half time maybe just to look at things and get lads to get among themselves. But yeah, hurling is like that, you know, when it suddenly can take on a life of its own and just the way it works. And today was their day.
In and around the middle third of the field, they seem to be getting an awful lot of the ball, which seemed to cause big problems for you. Would you agree with that? Yeah,
it's a fair point. They had bodies all over the place, obviously. They won a huge amount of breaking ball, I'd say, and we didn't win primary possession, you know, which, you know, we're normally fairly good at. But look, it's not mysterious, you know. We're playing a very, very good team. It's happened before, and no doubt it'll happen again, and that's the way it works.
It looked like you might be making a bit of a comeback there in the second half. Did you think that maybe you might have had it then?
I'm not saying we might have had it, but like, I mean, we did keep at it, and we were very, very genuine and very, very honest, I'd say, to the very, very end. And I mean, hurling is a game where 8, 9, 10 points, it's not a huge lead. It can be at different times, but if you can get a goal and get back into it, we got 2 goals in the second half, you know, we kept at it and kept going. But they responded well with a couple of points at various stages, and they always had that breathing space.
Late on, when there was down to 8 points in the difference between them, do you think that maybe a couple of times you might have had a chance to stick the ball over the bar and didn't take it?
Absolutely. Presumably that did happen a few different times.